This edition of the California Cup in conjunction with the CIF Esports Initiative presented by Omen, NVIDIA, HyperX, and the United States Marine Corps. I am the Doctor, being joined by my good friend Beatdown Boulevard. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Doc. So happy to be here and ready to cast some high school League of Legends.
Yeah, today we do have our first match, our first best of three coming up shortly. It is going to be the Fountain Valley High School Golden Barons facing off against the Bishop Montgomery Knights. And so we are super duper excited to be able to kick off this cup here today with an exciting matchup. We've come through a multiple week of, different kinds of state championships for PlayVS here, now kind of culminating in this big, nice California Cup finale. And I am beyond excited.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What a way to bring it all together like this with everything PlayVS has been doing before. And like I said, glad to be here. This is my first time on PlayVS, but I'm really hoping we can make this a good show as we're just waiting for everybody and all the teams to just get set up.
Yeah, so as we, take a look at some of these teams, regular stats, the Gold Barons, 11-1 on the season, comparing against the 11-1 Knights as well. Both teams having a super strong normal season as they come into the playoffs, multiple win streaks coming through. Actually, the Golden Barons had an 11-game win streak. That is almost unheard of.
Yeah, that is a little bit insane, I gotta be honest, but overall, it is really nice to already in the semifinals have these Clash of the Titan matchups. Two teams only dropping one set. Of course, one of them is going to have to drop one today, and I'm really interested to see who's actually going to come out on top this time around. I mean, Blue Barons, fair enough. They got an 11-game win streak. To play that consistently, you gotta think that they might be the favorites going into this one.
Yeah, and so as you can see our bracket here on the screen, multiple matches have led us to where we are today. So our first match, the Blue Barons versus the Knights. On the other half of our bracket, we're going to have the Sunny Hill Gold Lancers against the MMHS Esports squad. And, we're going to have a lot of League of Legends to watch today. We are going to be able to find ourselves a grand champion today once it all shakes out. And so as we continue on, I believe we are going to be heading into our draft phase shortly. But I mean, looking at some of these stats, we have the Gold Barons. They're mostly upperclassmen, 11th and 12th grade. Lots of seniors going to be graduating and moving on into that collegiate scene potentially. So it is nice to see them, be able to push through here in their final year.
Yeah, it is really nice to see, and I like that some of them are even pretty open with how they, what their aspirations are. I like that one person, too, on the Blue Barons even specifically said, yeah, I want to be a streamer, but, if that doesn't actually work out for me, I'm going to pursue a comp science degree. And I do appreciate the realism, but at the same time, shoot for the stars, right?
Yeah, and as you can see on the screen, that is exactly what we were talking about. False is dead, looking to go into comp sci. David Wan playing, I just play for high school. All right, that's interesting. The biggest thing to note here, I think, is that these are players who are not in their first season of PlayVS. They've been in the game multiple times. They've been able to find their way through these series and into, playoffs more than once. So they're well equipped heading into, the nerves that could potentially be coming out here.
Yeah, of course, experience is definitely a big factor in these later stage playoff matchups. If you've been here before, you're more comfortable with that pressure. You don't feel those nerves like you said there, Doc. So I'm really curious to see how, I'm really curious to see how Bishop Montgomery are going to perform today, just because, again, this isn't their first rodeo. But if we're looking at the stat card here for Fountain Valley, the same thing seems to be true with them. Everybody here except for Nathan is on their third season, and even Nathan's on his second.
Yeah, and again, these are upperclassmen, juniors pretty much across the board. So they know what they're getting into. They've been playing their entire high school career in these types of games. And experience is something we talk about a lot here on PlayVS because a lot of these teams do have, experience backing them. They have, players that have been playing this whole time. They have coaches who are there to really put the pieces together. They have game plans set up and ready for these late stage games. And I mean, lots of future plans here about going, professional in the esports team in one way or another, except for Nathan there. But, maybe it all comes together sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it happens by accident. I've met plenty of people in esports. It just kind of happened to them. It was never really a plan. It was never a goal. So you never know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's always a good start here in PlayVS. Like I said, these players at Fountain Valley, they've been playing in PlayVS their entire high school career. I imagine it'll continue on into their senior year as well. And these teams are really set up to succeed. They have, the cooperation between the players. They have the backing of the schools. That's really what PlayVS is about, is getting resources to the players and making sure that they have the opportunity to put something like this out into the world.
Yeah, for sure. And it is really nice that schools these days are supporting their students in these endeavors, because it is really, these kind of programs do a lot for the kids to allow them to try and it gives you some extracurriculars to get involved in, even if it is esports. Like, it's still something they're interested in, something they're doing with some of their spare time, and that's just good for development overall, like as a person, instead of just work all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it time and time again with traditional sports. It is something to do at the end of the day once you've been in class for however many hours you are, and now you do get to go into this group environment and really succeed at something that you enjoy and something that you want to succeed in. And so we are, again, just waiting on that champ select. It seems that it bugged out, which does happen, but no worries. We're going to hop right in there soon, folks. But you love to see it. I mean, esports in general, it is quickly becoming much, much more accessible for everybody in all walks of life, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the accessibility is the most important part about it. And obviously there are still steps that esports as a whole can do to make it better. But the fact that we're still at this point, we're still doing pretty good here. And especially, I think one thing you could praise Riot in general for League of Legends is how accessible that game is. Because I don't know about you, Doc, but I've tried to run that games on some pretty bad setups, and it works.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it is one of those plug-and-play games that just work. And then, that is another thing that PlayVS is really great about, is that their multiple titles are all super accessible. There's League of Legends, there's Rocket League, Fortnite. All of these games run on pretty much, the
potatoes.
Yeah, the most minuscule of setups are able to run, any of these games.
You're good.
It's a MacBook, so you might have some troubles because they don't always have Mac clients.
Sure, but a lot of like esports titles, I'm pretty sure do. That's the thing.
That is fairly true. I'm gonna be honest. I don't have a Mac, so I'm not too familiar with it. I do know that early on in League's life, it did have a lot of Mac issues, but it is nice to see them sort those out.
200 years experience, by the way.
That is very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
of course.
Thankfully, we are here today and being able to put on this California Cup for you guys. Once again, it is in collaboration with the CIF Esports Initiative, along with Open NVIDIA, HyperX, and the Marine Corps, our sponsors who are bringing it to you today. Thankfully, you have our lovely mugs here to walk you through the journey that we're going to be here in the first half of the day. And so, again, we are still just
waiting on a remake, I believe. Like I said, 200 years experience, by the way.
Sometimes things just fall apart. These things happen.
They really do. They really do.
But let's talk about these players once again. We've talked about it a little bit. Both teams 11-1. Regular season position for the Knights, they were in 5th versus the Gold Barons, finished in 4th actually in the regular season stats. So pretty good standings there. At 11-1, though, to finish 4th and 5th, it really shows you how good the competition is, though.
Yeah.
You know, there's only one mistake you made, and, you know, now you...
And wow, and you're somehow 4th.
Yeah, so I mean that's some crazy competition coming their way. You know, the team's really pulling it together, though. Looking at some of these stats, you know, really stellar KDAs across the board. You know, Rokid, the Bishop Montgomery marksman there, averaging a KDA of 13.3 with a 72% takedown participation. That is extremely high for a marksman who spends a lot of their time just trying to get some gold in their pocket.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's just a good sign for them. You must be winning all of their 2v2s, maybe even 3v2s, because to get a KDA like that, I imagine you're just ungankable at that point. Like, anytime the jungler comes down, that's just more gold in your pocket because you somehow managed to get out of it.
Yeah, and, you know, when you do have a strong jungler as well, you know, Ifrikum, 6.5 KDA, 67% kill participation, most played character being Shen. That's actually something to note, I feel, is that Shen jungle, not super duper strong, does have some really good parts to him, but overall is not exactly a strong jungler.
Definitely not. He just has his kit just happens to just work in a very niche kind of way. Like, he has the taunt, so all he has to do is get on top of whoever he's ganking, taunt them, and it's usually just about setting up your laner to get either, you know, auto attacks off, get their abilities off, and even Shen can do some auto attacks as well. But it also helps. You have more map pressure as a Shen jungle just because of your ultimate too. So even if you have to think to yourself, if you are in the bot lane or the enemy jungler saying, oh, Shen's top side, so we can gank bottom side. But does he have his ult up becomes a question too, because he can immediately show up as well.
Yeah, and it really, you know, swings some of these objective fights as well. You know, if you think that you have the number advantage going into a dragon fight or a herald fight or a baron fight, and then all of a sudden the numbers equal out, not only do you lose the number advantage, but now the opponent also has a pretty decent shield to whichever carry decides to, you know, be targeted based off of how much missing health they are. So you could get, you know, pixel perfect to where you want to get your takedown, and then it just, you know, evaporates as soon as Shen comes in.
Yeah, that's right. So again, not the best clear speed, excuse me, until he builds Tiamat probably, which I imagine is the first thing you go for is him. But there's definitely a lot of options there. There's a lot you can do with the Shen jungle, and especially if it's someone you play often in that position. Experience is also a really important factor here, because if you play a lot of Shen jungle, you know strengths, weaknesses, you know the matchups, you know exactly what you want to do in every situation, and if it's something you're not used to seeing, it can actually mess with you as the enemy player.
Yeah, I mean, jungle is one of those positions that is super macro focused. You need to know a lot about the map. You need to know, you know, objective timings. You need to know rotation timings, making sure that you can get to a position quick enough to be able to respond to, you know, any type of threat. And so it is one of, despite what they say in solo queue and online, it is one of the more big brain positions that you need to have. You know, you don't get the liberty of just being, you know, a press R champion all the time. You do need to, you know, have some thought behind the role.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It is a really important role in the game. I think even Riot did a poll at some point, and it was asking what players thought were the most important roles. And it turns out that higher elo players all said mid and jungle as like the most impactful roles. Mid lane makes sense. Even Riot themselves will come out saying it's a role they actually want to dial back a little bit because of how much impact they have. But junglers too are on the top of the list because, again, a really good jungler, even in your own games, like you can tell it. It makes a huge difference. It just makes your life easier as a whole as a laner.
All right, guys, we are going to toss to a short break. It does seem that there are some matchmaking issues with the lobby. So while we get that sorted out, we are going to, like I said, take a short break. So stay tuned with us, folks, and we'll get that game to you going as soon as possible. Welcome back, everybody. Here we are once again with the California Cup presented by the CIF Esports Initiative. Thank you once again for sticking with us through all of these hard times. We are finally back and ready to roll. The players have hit the draft phase, and so we are going to be jumping right into that. No worries for you folks. And we are going to be able to finally see what type of breakdown these two teams decided for. And so Beatdown, we've seen lots of crazy drafts coming through here. Talk to me a little about what we could expect.
Well, we're already seeing the Vladimir ban, so I think that's just immediately some of those, I like to call them level 16 warriors. If you let them get to level 16, it's kind of over. Your Vladimirs, your Kassadins, Kale. There's probably one more I'm not thinking of, but you get the idea. Something you're not really interested in. Master Yi, exactly. Although I think Yi is more of an item spike, but I guess by the time you get to level 16, so it's the same thing. So I've already seen the bans come out here. We're seeing the Echo is also going to be that second band, which is interesting. He has a pretty strong mid laner, scales really well, so if it's something you're not interested in playing against, it makes sense to get rid of it.
Yeah, and then they're following it up with a Rek'Sai ban to round out their first set of bans. Meanwhile, Bishop Montgomery seemed pretty intent on getting rid of these solo laners. The Kled, the Darius, the Lux. Darius Kled, super duper strong on the top side. Kled, I don't think I've ever seen him lose ever in the history of the champion. It's definitely a worthy ban if your opponent knows how to play it.
Yeah, he's one of those, if you ever played fighting games and you see people play the super technical champion, and as soon as they pick him, you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna get rolled, and you get rolled subsequently. So he's just one of those guys. Definitely takes quite a bit of skill, but he's very strong. We're already going to see the first the picks are coming out here. Montgomery go for the Ezreal into the as well as the Galio. So we have our ADCs and mids, and Fountain Valley opt for the Aatrox Cassiopeia.
So they're just right out the jump picking up their solo laners. We know their top lane, we know their mid lane, we know their marksman as well with the Caitlyn. You don't really need to focus too much on what support Caitlyn goes with because all of them work. And so Bishop Montgomery now are able to pick up the Wukong, super duper strong in the jungle. I imagine he's going to get played top lane, but I definitely prefer him in the jungle.
Yeah, I think it worked either way, just because right now, even though Wukong was recently nerfed, he's still an exceptional duelist, and once he gets Blade of the Rune King up, God, I hope you have Grievous Wounds, bro, because that guy will not die otherwise. And I like Fountain Valley banning out those really troublesome supports. You get rid of Leona, you get rid of Yuumi especially, because nobody wants to see Ezreal Yuumi, let's be honest. Let's just get it out of here.
It's super duper strong. It is. Now we're starting to see the junglers come through. Lee Sin, Trundle being picked up. And then the Rakan is going to be the eventual pick to go with the Caitlyn. Another strong pickup for Fountain Valley. Lots of engaged potential coming out of the squad there.
Yeah, I think that's basically from this draft. You can see that's most of what they want to do here. You have your Aatrox, you have your Trundle, you have Rakan even as your support, who's not really getting tanky. So you really want to just engage.
Yep, and so as we head into the game, we're finally going to get to see how these teams play out against each other. The Taric being the last pick there for BMHS. And with the Ezreal, I think it's actually super interesting. Somehow, we did miss the first couple seconds of the game, but somehow we see Josh's Caitlyn with a red buff.
Oh no, that must have been an accident. That must have just been a misclick there. Maybe expecting your Trundle to smite, but from what I'm seeing, Chunboy is still level 2. And I think they are fine. It's either that or we missed an early invade here, because we do have a ward from Bishop Montgomery to the blue buff here of Chunboy, but he's already there. Gonna grab it, ends up clearing the ward as well. So I think looking at Rokid too. Actually, I'm really not sure what happened there, but it looks like both junglers are starting off okay. Although Rokid is a little bit ahead in farm here and is already actually going for a gank mid lane.
Yep, they do have some good vision, though, making sure that it's not quite going to be successful. And, you know, obviously the red buff going to the marksman level 1, really unfortunate. It's not standard. In that particular lane, though, it does make the bullying that Caitlyn can be capable of that much stronger.
Whoa. Yeah, that is a great trade there from Light Psychers. This Cassiopeia, you really have to avoid the poison either from her Q or from her miasma. So I think they were setting up Galio for a roam to clear up some vision around Dragon, and then just have Champ go back into the mid lane. But he's already losing some HP, is forced to use 2 of his corrupting pods. So going to have to be careful lest he gets ganked there by Chunboy, who's trying to make a play for that top rift scuttle.
Yeah, Galio, typically a really good anti-mage pick. You know, he does get that magic resistant shield, is pretty tanky somewhat, but I feel like Cassiopeia just does so much damage early on that it's really tough for him to get the foothold that he's used to having.
I gotta agree with you there. It is going to be a tough matchup in lane. However, Champ is going to be really helpful when we get into these team fights, especially because we talked about it in Champ Select, how Fountain Valley has this composition where it's just all engage. Aatrox wants to engage, Trundle, even Rakan. This is all like just go, go, go. So having someone like the Galio who can make plays across the map with his ultimate is really helpful. It's going to be good outside of lane. He just has to make sure not to give too much to the Cassiopeia, because again, a strong Cassiopeia, nobody wants to see that.
There is a lot of scaling for the Blue Barons. They have the Caitlyn, who spikes it 3 items. They have the Cassiopeia, who spikes super late into the game if she can't get ahead. The Aatrox that seemingly never stopped scaling. So, I mean, I feel like that there is a ticking clock for BMHF right now, but we do see the gank into the top side. ZXC forced to walk away, doesn't need to blow any summoner spells, not that he had any to blow, but he is going to survive the gank.
And just to your point about scaling here, you're right, the Blue Barons do have quite a powerful late game composition, though I don't think Bishop Montgomery are that hurt as well. They have a lot of utility as well once we get out of laning phase into those team fights, especially the invulnerability that comes from the Taric ultimate. Of course, we know Ezreal scales very well. Wukong is a strong champion too. It's just going to be about how you take these engagements and taking really smart fights here. And honestly, Cassiopeia already getting to that point where she is quite strong. She has the Tear of the Goddess built. She can start putting some DPS out, and then she's hitting level 6. So I think Champ is going to really start having a lot less fun from this point onward.
It does make ganking that mid lane pretty difficult as well, because the way Lee Sin's Q works is when he does use the traveling portion of it, the Sonic Wave. Oh man, so much damage coming through in the top side. First takedown coming through. That is Gorilla Jones diving under the tower, taking home the money, and putting himself on the board very early on.
Yeah, and this Aatrox is doing good. He's already doubled ZX's CS as well, and with that kill, he's got a nice bit of money too. ZX is forced to use the teleport, which means it's not going to be available if they try to make a play for this dragon. And actually, Gorilla Jones has his up, so there could be a potential 5v6 if Fountain Valley actually want to try and make a play for this dragon. But what you see, Rokid is on it though.
Just getting a little help from his friends. The Ocean Dragon, not long for this world. It is going to be going over to the Knights. They're going to love that 2.5% health regen per second out of combat. I don't think it's going to help the top lane, though.
No, definitely not. He's going to need a little more recovery than that. ZX just finally hitting level 6. Definitely has more dueling potential with that double knock-up, especially if he gets it up onto his clone, but still, we're going to have to see how that one goes. So far, if we're looking across the board, with the exception of top lane in favor of Fountain Valley, CS is pretty even. We have that one kill onto Aatrox here. We see people starting to build up their items. You can see maybe a 600 gold lead here, and that's actually almost entirely from the Aatrox.
You see the teleport coming out of the Ezreal as well. A little substandard. We do a lot of times see marksmen picking up that teleport so that they can get back to lane in a losing lane. But I don't know. Do you think that would have been the right call here? All right, never mind. We're going to see another engagement into the top side. ZXC forced to blow the ultimate. Does have flash available, but holds on to it for now.
I gotta say, perhaps Gorilla Jones, he really read the clone there, because when Wukong clones, he's invisible for a few seconds, but he managed to land a skill shot on him anyway. And now we have, looks like they're also setting up to make a play for the Rift Herald for Bishop Montgomery. You already see the ward starting to go down there. They're gonna go for that scuttle once it's back up. But because Gorilla Jones has that top lane priority, he's looking to do the same, set up some vision for his team.
Rift Herald, the stronger as the game goes on. It is leveled to when you take it. So the later they can hold off on that, the more they can potentially get out of it. But I feel like the Blue Barons bottom lane has been very strong here as we see the pings going out. But they've been frozen on their half of the rift for almost the entire lane so far.
Yeah, it is a little bit rough here, and it looks like that still a bit uneven there, so it is really rough here for Zivili and False's Den. However, again, they're not really lagging behind here. If you look at itemization, the Ezreal starts with the pickaxe, has Tear of the Goddess, really close to getting the Manamune. So, honestly, so far, pretty even. Again, even we have Champ rushing the Merc Treads for that magic resist, which, let's be real, against Cass, you're going to need as much as you can get here, and it looks like we have a skirmish in the river.
Chunboy caught in the middle of it, throws down the subjugate though, forcing Champ to try and run away. Does get the invulnerability out of the Terror, flashes away. False is gonna be going down shortly. That is gonna be, man, huge 3-man stun, but it's not enough. Lightsikers picks up the second takedown of the game, and everybody else is gonna be able to escape with their lives.
And it's unfortunate too. False's Dead ends up throwing flash dies anyway. You get a kill and 2 summoners out of Bishop Montgomery. That is definitely a successful play in Fountain Valley's books. And now with this Cassiopeia having a kill, she's getting that much more dangerous with that extra bit of gold there. Top the chat though, he is keeping up in the CS department. Now that he's finished the Merc Treads, he has the Hextech Revolver, is on his way to the Proto Belt.
And while that skirmish was happening, we did see ZXC try and attempt that Rift Herald, but due to being far behind in the lane, it didn't appear that he had enough damage to take it out. And so he actually gets interrupted by the Cassiopeia who roamed up, now almost being able to complete that Service Embrace. It will be coming soon. It will continue stacking, but doesn't want to give up too much pressure in the mid lane just yet, it seems.
Yeah, and it seems like... Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Champ might have to take a not-so-favorable back here. He's actually trying to waste Lightsyker's time a little bit there as well. Wow, he really is just trying to mess with this tempo there. But ends up stalling the minions, so now they're on his side of the map. We got a roam here from Gorilla Jones.
Gorilla Jones going to get the ultimate, gets the knockup, going to get the call back into the second knockup, into the third! Gorilla Jones taking down the Champ, and all of that harass ends up overstaying his welcome, and that's not a good sign.
It really isn't there, Doc. It wasted a little too much time trying to delay Lightsikers. You end up overextending. You end up delaying the wave too, so it's sitting on Lightsyker's side of lane. Even if he doesn't die in that scenario, still not a favorable situation there in the end, and now that's just going to allow the side of Fountain Valley to get this Cloud Drake for free.
bonus, 10% cooldown reduction on their ultimates, and they do have some pretty impactful ones. You know, the Subjugate from the Trundle, cutting out those tank stats from the Galio, going to make him really squishy to the Cassiopeia. You know, the Petrifying Gaze from the Cassiopeia, obviously very impactful. Gorilla Jones lands one ability and ends up winning that trade.
Yeah, 2 levels ahead, has Caulfield's Warhammer, so he already hurts a little bit here with that extra bit of AD. He actually has a bounty now as well for those 2 kills, for that assist, and he's actually just going to sit in. Oh my god, he's hiding the brush. EX doesn't know he's there. No, I think he must know. He's got to know.
He is playing with fire potentially. That would be the spree coming out from Gorilla Jones. Throws down the ultimate trying to get it, but that one is too tricky. Too tricky.
And we're already getting to the point where it's really interesting how quiet it's been bottom lane. I think we had 1 trade there, but besides that fight in the river, it's just been more or less AFK farming simulator. I think we got a little bit of a handshake here between our ADCs. Like, hey, how about we just farm up, get real strong, then we're going to see who wins, okay? And it's interesting because especially when you have a Rakan, I feel like you want to trade very often, even if you are up against the turret, because you have a lot of mobility. With that E, you can knock them up and immediately jump to your laner to dodge the stun.
So I think that I definitely was expecting a lot more action in this bottom lane. I think that the fear from the Blue Barons, though, is that once you do the grand entrance in, False can immediately start the dazzle, and I think it's a guaranteed hit onto Meep as long as, you know, he doesn't flash afterwards. But alright,
we have a scourge in the top side river, though.
Z forced off. They are trying for the Rift Herald. Lots of pings going off, though. And
it is tough because now... Yeah.
I think the Knights are just letting it go. Yeah, Lee Sin roaming down to the bottom half of his jungle. They're just going to give up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, that's probably better. Just, you don't want to take an unnecessary fight there. I think that's going to be the only Rift Herald that comes up as well, since it took so long for them to get that first one. They're just going to focus on the bottom side of the map here, when we should have another Drake coming up in the next 2 minutes or so. So it's just, you might as well focus on that and try not to lose anybody in lane. Or lose too much plating, rather.
Yeah, there actually weren't that many plates that went down in the laning phase. Even with how aggressive Gorilla was in the top side, didn't really put that much pressure on the tower itself. Now, potentially, we see the ping going down from Chunboy, but the 2-man stun coming out on the bot side, grand entrance, doing what he can to keep him alive, throws out the stun as well. Rift Herald on the top side, gank in the middle lane, but Lightstriker is able to escape with his Slithery Tail. First brick in the top side going over to Chunboy, and it looks like they're going to get at least 1 more charge out of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they get the whole turret, because if you think about it, they can take this 2v1 here. Gorilla Jones is enough to 1v1 ZX, if I'm being honest, but actually they're just going to let that one go. They don't know where the enemy jungler is. Turns out Champ was on his way up, and even Rokid as well, so good call on them to not greed. Even though I say that, Gorilla Jones snags some Krugs there from Rokid, denies him that little bit of farm here.
Teleport coming in. The stun's not going to be time. It's actually the double teleport. Lightstriker exploding the Ezreal. Gets the stun into the drag back. Gorilla Jones on a spree now. 3-0-2 just in time for the dragon to spawn. They're going to be able to pick up this bottom lane tier 1 and transition over nicely.
And I like that they go for this bottom tower instead of the mid one, because they have consistent mid control with this Cassiopeia. There's really no way Champ is going to be able to contest. She does so much damage, even with all that MR he's built up already and has naturally. So you go for that bottom lane, get the pressure, have the minions push up, so it's easier for you to get control of this dragon pit. We already hear the dragon's roar. He's up and ripe for the taking. We're going to see that. Seems like Fountain Valley are just going to grab it, no problem.
Yeah, it is the first Infernal Drake of the game. Obviously, the Soul is what we have the Infernal for. So if somebody is able to secure the Soul, as we see a huge fight into the mid lane, flash out from Lightstrikers, pops the Seraphs and Braids along with the Miasma, going to be able to take down the ZXC Wukong. And what looked like a promising engagement fell apart into disaster.
It's, again, this is how dangerous the Cassiopeia is. You gotta be careful, especially with her ultimate there. She got the stun off, and with the amount of damage, even Flash couldn't save ZXC in that scenario. And now it looks like Champ doesn't want anything to do with it either. They've chunked that mid turret down so much here. So it looks like they're just gonna back, I want to say back off for the moment, but we have Chunboy there in the topside river. Yeah, I don't think anybody's actually looking to fight here.
We do see 3 members of the Knights, though, in this middle lane, trying to make sure that they don't lose out on the tower. But this is a pretty typical rotation that we are used to. Oh, man. So much work being done by this Aatrox. And this is part of the reason why I'm not a huge fan of the top lane Wukong. I feel like he does just get beat up so often by some of these other meta top laners that it's really difficult for him to execute the game plan. Whereas if he's in the jungle, he gets free reign to just farm away his camps and then come in and gank lanes at his, you know, not his leisure, but like when it's available to him. And so you just get a little bit more agency from the champion in that regard.
Yeah, well, I think there's still a lot of promise in that Wukong matchup there, but it unfortunately didn't play out very well for ZX. Took some bad trades, and unfortunately in League it is a snowbally game where if you lose a little bit early, if you drop an inch, your enemy laner could end up taking a mile from you there, and that is what happened. Also, building Trinity Force, I think it's interesting. It's not a common build for Wukong. Sure, the attack speed is nice, the extra health and mana is nice, but it's really common for you to just go Blade of the Rune King for that lifesteal and for the attack speed. No way he gets out.
Potential skirmish coming through. Shut down to Rokid. Able to collect that bounty for himself. We do see the inside track coming out from the Blue Barons onto this mid lane tower, though. The minion getting dragged away is pretty unfortunate, but they are going to be able to secure that tower anyway, thanks to that Caitlyn headshot passive. Oh no, backing on a ward and you don't even know it. Will we see Champ go for it? He does. Gets the snare. Gets the flash out as well. Chunboy trying to keep his marksman alive. Now getting beat up a little bit.
Oh yeah. Unfortunate. Josh had to blow the flash there, which is a little bit of pressure. Next time he has to be more careful. We all know how fragile ADCs are, but real quick, let's look at the gold count here. So Fountain Valley ahead by about 5k gold. Again, quite a bit of it is this Aatrox. He has the most gold in the game at the moment, sitting at almost 9,000. He has built up the Death Stance as well as the Black Cleaver. So this Aatrox is he's pretty tanky while also being really strong. Even has that cloth armor, so it looks like he's going towards more defensive items here on out just to keep his sustain up. Across the map here, we have the Saracen race completed by Lightstrikers here, as well as Leandre's Torment. So now, especially getting it close to 200 CS, Lightstrikers hurts a lot, and you really have to be careful of that Cassiopeia ultimate in team fights here if you're Bishop Montgomery. You see the Ezreal on the other side here has built up Iceborne Gauntlet, Muramana, the Boots of Lucidity, just for that cooldown reduction, even on summoners. But it is going to be a little tough there. I think Zibile is going to need to build up that Death Stance, but really needs to complete that build before he's actually dangerous. Seriously dangerous.
Yeah, the Ezreal going for that Iceborne Gauntlet means that he isn't as high damage as you would expect him to be at this stage of the game. You know, going for the defensive Sheen item over the Trinity Force. So he does get a little bit more peel for himself. So you can hopefully try and survive a little bit longer and not have to worry too much about his team defending him. And with not too many like deep divers on the Blue Barons, it is something that he can potentially get away with without having to worry about just getting chunked out early on. So we are going to have to see if we do get a true team fight going, which is probably going to be soon. The Infernal Drake's up, but it does look like everybody from the Knights are heading to the top side to catch out the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, and then that 450 shutdown you think might be worth it there, but the interesting thing, Lightseeker, nope, isn't going to be able to actually get the kill there. That's a nice shutdown there, especially for Champ, but the problem is they end up trading... See, trading a Drake for that fight is not so bad in general, but trading it for the third Drake is where I don't think Bishop Montgomery have their priorities straight. Yeah, it's really nice to kill that Cassiopeia, get the shutdown, but now Fountain Valley have 3 Drakes there, Doc. They have to worry about the 4th one. Every Drake that comes up, they have to contest it now, lest they let Fountain Valley get that Infernal Soul.
There's the slow coming in from the Iceborne Gauntlet, comboed with the Dazzle, but lots of healing on Gorilla Jones, but in the end, it's not enough. Another big set of money going over to these BMHS Knight squad. They do lose a tower in the mid lane for it, though.
That's right, and I like Fountain Valley always making sure that they get something out of it, because at the end of the day, Bishop Montgomery, yeah, some of these kills are nice, these shutdowns are good, but again, you sending 4 people to that bottom lane where you have to end up trading towers and allowing Fountain Valley to get deeper and deeper onto your side of the map, really, when you really look at everything, it's not going to be worth it.
Alright, Zebal picking up his team's red buff is going to be heading into cloth armor. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, I like your point about how
he's building Death Dance.
Interesting. I know it's a strong item. It's not something I see often on marksmen. But no, I do like your point about
only Ezreal.
Trading, you know, shutdowns for objectives in the long run probably isn't good. But I feel like for Victor Montgomery, it's a good little mental boost. Yes, it takes 4 members to take down the raid boss Aatrox, but I mean, in a team fight setting, that's much more likely.
Yeah, that is fair, but it's going to be tough. If you really do have to commit that much to one person, what are you going to do in the 5v5 when you have 4 other people to worry about as well? It is going to be tough, but you're right about the boosted mental thing. That's very important here, just because you got to feel like you're getting back in the game if you're Bishop Montgomery. Plus, the gold in the pocket is helpful there, Champ, using that shutdown gold to buy the Zhonya's Hourglass, buy a little more MR with the Null Magic Mantle. Means he is going to be a little stronger in these fights. Because again, the big damage dealer you're looking at here is Lightseeker, is that Cassiopeia. So it's good that he'll be able to sustain just that much more.
Alright, and we do see a bit of an ARAM coming through. Champ finding himself a cupcake in a trap. Not good for his health, but we do... I don't know, it's tough, because I feel like yes, the Baron's the right call, but I think both teams have enough vision control, but we are not going to get the yank back onto ZX, but now is the team fight double knockup into the ultimate from the Tarek. That is ZX going down already in the fight. Champ forced his Zhonya's to stay safe. 90 caliber net, not quite going to work out, but he's going to be able to flash away. 3-man Dragon Kick coming out of Rotate, keeping himself alive for a little bit longer. And with 3 members down, with 2 more quickly on the way, that grand entrance was massive coming out from Meep, and Zebile trying to run away, but he is just 1 man. Ace coming through for the Blue Barons, and let's see what they decide to finish it off with.
At this point, I think they're just going to push and actually try and take an inhibitor, it looks like. So they want to make sure there's going to be no contention on that Baron. Interestingly enough, though, it's really hard to imagine Bishop Montgomery are actually going to be able to do anything about this Baron play, because they have that bottom lane pushing so deep. They have the mid lane pushing into their base now. So it looks like they're just going to clear vision and start up that Baron. But I like the play that they made earlier, too, because they made it look like they were starting the Baron, not showing on the map. So Bishop Montgomery are thinking, oh, they're doing it again, too, because you have to assume they're on the Baron. But they actually should know that they aren't there.
The safeguard coming through means it's not available to get away. False is already down. The flash coming out of Roadkid to stay alive. And that is 1 for 0 once again. Is the Baron play now the call? The 50-50 from the Lee Sin still on the table.
For sure.
But it does look like they are going to risk it. They are going to trade it for the Infernal Drake, which would have been their soul.
And at this point, when you have no option to contest the Dragon, it is good that Bishop Montgomery can get something out of this here. But this next 3 minutes roughly are going to be really tough here for this squad, because they have quite the storm headed their way. And if we look again, itemization for Fountain Valley, they are looking so strong right now. The Aatrox, I already said, Death Dance, Black Cleaver, he's going to be hard to kill. Now Guardian Angel, even if you kill him, he's going to come back a few seconds later. We see Chun Boy has the Titanic Hydra, has a nice little bit of HP, is going tanky, and Lightstrikers just getting scarier and scarier, now has Riley's Scepter.
Basically, inescapable is the Giants think waiting now. They do have a clear-cut game plan now, too, right? Like, they have the Baron, they have the super strong Aatrox, they can split push with that Guardian Angel, and realistically, you just send everybody else to the bottom lane and, force the Knights to really try and, deal with all of the pressure.
That's right, False is Dead is actually in a bit of a strange spot. He's going to go to try for a bit of a flank stun, but actually decides against it. They just want to do the same thing they've been doing. I think they're going to try and focus on getting Gorilla Jones in the top lane, because again, he's by himself here. And I guess not. They just want to deal with the bottom lane instead.
Yeah, the double cannon mini, super big. Big taunt lands onto the 80 carry. The 90 caliber net keeps him alive for a second longer. Huge battle dance from the Rakondo to keep his 80 carry alive. The heal coming in as well. Champ forced the zonies early on, but Josh has so much damage at this stage of the game, able to just melt through whatever resistances he has built up. 2 members are down. The Nexus inhibitor towers not long for the world. I missed what happened on the top side, but we see Gorilla Jones super duper low. I feel like he just dove under tower for that entire time. Still has the GA though, by the way.
Yeah, he kind of all in there on ZX, forced him to go back to his fountain to try to heal, and it looks like we have a back and teleport from Lightstrikers, who is now full HP, ready to go. Both Nexus turrets are down, and I think that's game 1.
It is gonna do it here for game 1 of this best of 3. The Blue Barons able to clutch it out and come away victorious. Now, pretty dominantly, I would probably say that top lane from Gorilla Jones was his lane kingdom, and really, really put it to ZXC there.
I gotta say, just to be fair to Bishop Montgomery, I wouldn't say that whole game was very dominating. I think that Gorilla Jones in the top lane definitely helped run away with it, but overall it seems like in laning phases teams traded pretty well, although there was besides the top lane, there was a huge lack of action there. We didn't see the junglers try to set up too many plays there, so I think part of that bit of I guess being docile was what allowed Gorilla Jones to end up being that win condition there for Fountain Valley, because at the end of the day, he was the one getting kills, getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and then only after that were they able to play off of him, and Bishop Montgomery at that point didn't have much to play off of. And then again, they were giving up objectives for single kills, even if it's a lot of shutdown gold. I don't know if that's the greatest idea, because you end up giving up a lot of space on the map.
True. And so as we head into game 2, we are going to have to see what team comes up with a new winning strategy as they go back to their coaches and rethink things and come into game 2 with a quick readjustment to the draft phase. But we are going to take a short break, guys, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with game 2 here in the California Cup.
A stereotype for women in video games. A lot of people tend to think that we're not very good. Sometimes the male players get a little snarky, and sometimes I do have to put them in their place. 1v1 me, bro. Come at me. I was bullied relentlessly in school, so video games became my escape. And eventually I started entering tournaments and making a name for myself. A lot of people thought it was a joke, but I was really excited. I went before our Board of Education and presented the case for esports. We talked about the benefits of playing video games. You build teamwork, critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, communication. These are skills that companies are now looking for. And also, I brought up the child that won $3 million in Fortnite and discussed how students had a future with esports if they could win money and go to college on scholarships. We made an announcement 2 days after the board approved, and I had about 450 students show up, and it was a little overwhelming to think about how am I going to teach students how to play this very complex game. There are a lot of different types of students in my program, and I have a lot of students who say, they come to school for esports. They know that they need to do well in class. Otherwise, their teacher will call me and I will come up to their classroom and sit in that class and make sure that they're doing what they need to do. A lot of them are now maybe at B's when earlier they were C's or D's. I had a student graduate last year. He told me that he was going to drop out, that he didn't like school wasn't for him, and then we announced esports, and that's kind of what saved him, and he graduated and now he's in college. That meant a lot to me. I tear up a little bit every time I think about that child. Every school really does need an esports program, simply because, in my personal experience, a lot of these kids that play esports, for various reasons, they can't play a physical sport. But esports is it's online, it's at the school, it gives students a place where they can feel safe and they belong. Because back in the day when esports and video games weren't mainstream, you were bullied relentlessly for it. And a lot of my students talk about how they feel safe in the esports program, and that's their family, that's their community. Being an esports coach means to me that I have a huge responsibility to these 65 children that are in this program. Despite the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing half the time, they are counting on me to give them guidance in this game so they can win and go to playoffs. It's more than just being a coach, it's being there for students who might not have anybody who's normally there for them. It's about encouraging them, loving them, and showing them that you can do something like this and be good at it and go off and have a future.
It's not just the ships, the armor, or aircraft. It's the will to fight and determination to win found inside every Marine. Battles won.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the California Cup. We just saw Fountain Valley pretty much have a pretty strong showing there for the first win here of this best-of-3 series in the semifinal. Now, as we go into Game 2, we're going to see whether or not Bishop Montgomery can actually bounce back there. Again, on Beatdown Boulevard, with me is Doctor. As soon as we can, we're going to see how this next one is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, so game one, super duper strong. Being able to come out the gates swinging like that and come out with a victory, really, really clutch in a best of 3 to take game one. Now you are on set point for the rest of the series. You don't have to worry about going down a game or two. You do get that double chance to be able to come back.
Yeah, although it is a best of 3, not 5, so if they lose 2 games, they do lose the series. However, it is nice to have that cushion. You're definitely right there. So we're going to see as we'll soon start our drafting, our champ select. We're going to see how teams actually see if things are going to be swapped up. Are Fountain Valley going to mix it up, or are they going to stick with what's working? Do Bishop Montgomery think the comp is fine? It's more about how we executed it. That's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, to the composition, I think most of it was fine. I think the weak point was the Wukong. And I think if they want to, they can pick very much the same composition, just swap out the top laner for something, that can be a bit more aggressive at multiple stages of the game versus the Wukong that does take some time to get some items, be able to really be, super relevant.
For sure. We're already going to see the bans here. Teams have actually swapped sides too. Bishop Montgomery are on the blue side now. Fountain Valley are on the red side. First bans we're going to see again. Vlad's out of the game. They're going to ban Aphelios, which is interesting. They didn't ban him before. It tells me they're going to do something a little different in the bot lane. Fountain Valley, on the other hand, again, banning Darius. No one likes to see him in that top lane matchup if you can't deal with it. Lux as well.
Yeah, so the Aphelios ban, like you said, it does lead us to believe that it is going to be a different bot lane coming out of Bishop Montgomery. Being able to ban out the Leona round 1 as well means that they don't want that same Ezreal Taric bottom lane. They want something a little bit more scaly, I feel, but they don't want to play with the Aphelios. So as now we see Kled being the final ban, they picked the Caitlyn this time.
Yeah, that's right. So this time they want to play it, and I suppose Bishop Montgomery just don't like playing Caitlyn into the Aphelios. They definitely don't want the Leona there, just because her engage is unreal, and her ability to help her ADC take trades is definitely something as well. Fountain Valley are actually going to start with Karma, which you don't see that too often.
Yeah, Karma's an interesting pick that we've been seeing crop up very rarely. Really oppressive in the bot lane, can really put out lots of early game damage. Combo that with another potential poke style AD carry like the Ezreal that we see picked up here. Possibly the Varus would have been an option as well. But so now we do also see Bishop picking up some really strong picks. That jungle Olaf being able to be so disruptive in most of the game. The Orianna, super good at every stage of the game. Shockwave's simply game changing at times.
Yep. Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. Orianna is definitely a solid pick in the mid lane. It's I think it's I want to say it's almost a pretty good line matchup, honestly. You could just throw that against almost anybody and you'll have a pretty solid time. I like the Olaf too. It shows me Fountain Valley want to... Oh no, we actually have the names swapped again. So this is Fountain Valley who are drafting the Olaf this time around. So they are getting Caitlyn again, and Champ is... Or sorry, they've picked the... They picked the Olaf. I think this time around they want a more active early game, because Olaf, good in a lot of stages of the game, sure, but his early game is where he is very strong compared to pretty much any other jungler. So that playmaking ability to get your laners ahead early is very likely what they're drafting for.
It does continue on there. Rakan and Renekton being picked up as well. Lots of early game style gameplay coming out, lots of potential spiking coming through as well. Renekton's been slowly climbing up those charts now, being able to pick up the Blade of the Ruined King style build and be super strong in those side lane pushes. being able to really take over the lane. And so it's interesting to me that the red side is able to pick up the Gnar, not something that we've been seeing.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple changes recently, but nothing too meta-defining. It might be a comfort pick here for Gorilla Jones, especially with how well he played the Aatrox, who a lot of people would argue isn't the greatest top lane pick either. But seeing what he did, I'm really curious to see him play this Gnar. I think stylistically, too, looking at Fountain Valley, this composition isn't too different from what they want to do before. You have the Rakan, there's a lot of engage there. Even the Renekton is very helpful as well. How tanky is the stun that he offers. So it does feel like another go composition here. And you look at Bishop Montgomery, who drafted the Rek'Sai, another pretty good early game jungler as well. So I'm really curious to see if Chunboy is also going to be looking to make plays early on. And we might see some pretty early 2v2s in those solo lanes, which is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, last game we saw things weren't super aggressive, so being able to change it up game 2 and really kind of run it around, being able to be much more aggressive can change up, the fate of the match. If your bot lane can get ahead this time, it does give you a lot more dragon control, being able to really, stack up get those stat buffs going, and really propel yourself towards the soul.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. And yeah, we actually did. I can't believe we're only just talking about it now. But yeah, the Ezreal Yuumi is up now for Bishop Montgomery. A much more difficult bot lane to deal with in laning phase. That early healing can be so hard for you to take trades, because even if you take a good trade, well, she's healed him now. So we're gonna have to see some really. I think more than anything else, I think we're gonna see the Olaf from Fountain Valley try and spend a bit of time there on bot side to help get the Caitlyn ahead, because like you said, that 2-item power spike is something to fear.
And it's interesting that the Yuumi actually went through even past the second ban phase. Not only is the Ezreal Yuumi super scary, but Yuumi really allows a lot of shenanigans with the zoomies, being able to really take control of any champion on the team and be able to run with it. And so we do see the teams now stacking up. The ward just barely getting out there. I'm surprised the recall actually wasn't interrupted. We saw the auto attack from Gnar connect, but oh well.
Yeah, it doesn't really end up amounting to too much here. A couple early trades, but it's definitely nothing that, you have time before the buffs actually spawn. And we are going to have Rek'Sai. You are going to have Rek'Sai on that. Actually, both junglers, it looks like, are starting topside. So we might actually see an early skirmish bot lane, because it seems like they're just going to path their way down there. And what's interesting, since we were expecting Karma support, but it's actually going to be Karma mid, which I think will be really interesting into this Orianna, which we're already seeing some trades go on here.
Yeah, Karma opting for the command attack at level 1, not being able to use it, the command shield defensively level 1, and try and win the trade with auto attacks, meant that she really didn't have a lot of agency that time. Karma was able to run her down in the lane, spam out all of the mentor Qs, and really become a problem, forcing all of the potions to be burned by Light already.
Yeah, however, it is rough too, because the Karma does start corrupting pod. It does make that early laning phase a little bit easier. You have the ability to restore some of your mana, some of your HP, so it does make it easier for you to take trades against this Orianna. But so far, Lightstrikers is doing alright. Is more or less full health at the moment, a little bit ahead in CS, so not a bad start at all. Besides that, I don't think we're seeing too much action just yet. However, ZX is actually on the opposite jungle, so I think we're going to see a play top.
Yeah, we see the tunnel coming over the wall. Gorilla Jones gonna get knocked up, going super low. First takedown already going over to the BMHS Knights, and it goes over to their jungler, actually.
Yeah, that's right. That Rek'Sai can really start to hurt once she gets some items going as well. And honestly, unfortunate, Gorilla Jones forced to use that teleport early. So Z-Vile has a bit of a CS lead, has that experience lead now, so he's got to be careful even if he is more or less under his own tower.
Tower dive potential from Rek'Sai Gnar is decent if you time it correctly. If you're able to get the Mega Gnar. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, the flash for flash going to go down. Knockup coming through as well. Lightstrikers super low. Not going to go down just yet, though. And now it's Chunboy versus the world. Able to throw out axe after axe after axe. But Champ with the huge snipe. And the root landing onto Chunboy as well. And that is very much in favor of the Knights. Gorilla Jones going in aggressively as well. And it is non-stop action here in the game, too, very early on.
Yeah, unfortunate Lightstrikers definitely overstaying their welcome. Is forced to use the teleport also, so we're already, that's already 2 teleports down here for the side of Fountain Valley. So again, for this early dragon fight, it is going to make it tough if you want to try and make a big play out of it. Top side, now despite going down a kill, Gorilla Jones actually ahead in CS now, is doing pretty well in these trades against Z-Bile as well. Might be trying to make a play in the mid lane with the roam, but unfortunately doesn't want to walk around because the scuttle has been grabbed.
Yeah, just going back to farming, and I know that we had talked about potentially more aggressive bottom lanes, but as the game continues on, I don't think we're going to get it. I think we are going to be back into very much the same of game 1, at the very least until level 6 comes out and Ezreal Yuumi can start pressing the go button.
That is what you're looking for here. We have they're going for trades here. Not sure Gorilla Jones wants to be trading with Mega Gnar, but still ends up going relatively well. We actually see Lightstrikers go for this double Dorans just because ended up going down a kill. Wants to keep at least somewhat of an increased damage output for this early stage of the game here until she can build up an item. So, and if we look at the bot side too, not a whole lot. Again, I think the handshake is just a common thing among these teams here, where it's just, you know, let's keep it light, let's keep it breezy, let's farm it out. But I think we might have a play mid lane. Both junglers have their eyes set on it.
Does look like both sides going in for a little bit of vertical jungling, but all the camps are down at the moment. And something that we lightly touched on earlier is, yes, we had expected the Karma support. A lot of times she has really good early damage, but falls off super hard come mid and late game. You know, not a ton of damage behind those abilities. And so now that we're seeing it in the mid lane, I feel like we're going to start hitting a point where the damage fall off happens much sooner than typical we see.
Yeah, that's true. As we get later into the game, Lightstrikers is going to get stronger and stronger by comparison. And, oh, we have a nice trade here, topside.
All right, Gnar being used by Z-Bile. There's the Dominus coming through from Gorilla Jones. Will he be able to continue the fight? No. The Hyper from the Gnar, too good. Oh, minion block coming in, unfortunate. Gonna land the stun, building up tons of rage onto this one. But tries to dash through into Z-Bile. And ends up going down once again to ZXC on that jungle. He was our top laner last time, so he's definitely getting his revenge.
Yeah, I think that could explain a little bit of focus there in the top lane, but so far it's just good for Z-Bile. It's keeping him even in CS with Gorilla Jones. However, he's given quite a bit of gold here to ZX, and unfortunately Chinboy is going to take that Grump with little to no consequence here. And if you see across the board, we're starting to get item components built out here. Those 2 kills already allowed ZX to get Caulfield's Warhammer. Nice little bit of damage, nice little bit of CDR there as he's building towards what's probably going to be the Warrior enchantment. And actually, both junglers look like they're well on their way towards that. So we have the dragon. The next dragon's going to be up in 3 minutes, so unless they want to contest this Herald, I don't think we're going to see too much action going on here, aside from what you so aptly called vertical jungling, Doctor.
And so we see one buff going away. I don't think they have vision on the right side. I don't think they know that that is being stolen away and are going to be able to go and, you know, trade. But something to note is that the Renekton topside is building the Tiamat instead of the Cutlass, so not going to have that lifesteal component, but we do see Meeper going in with the Grand Entrance, able to get away though with the Battle Dance. But yeah, I mean, no lifesteal for the Renekton means that any damage coming through is going to connect, but the snare there collects. Shockwave coming in big. Lightstriker is able to survive through the ultimate. Huge shutdown coming on through. Unstoppable being procced. He's really forcing this one. Is going to be forced off by the tower. And 1-0 in the mid lane is definitely in favor of Lightstrikers.
Yeah, plus that little bit of shutdown gold is going to be really nice as well. Allows them to build that lost chapter. So this Orianna is going to hurt just a little bit more now. And it is a little rough for Champ, who had a bit of an advantage there with regards to items. So across the board, though, things are still pretty even. Interesting, though, Rokib this time around on the Ezreal isn't starting with the pickaxe, but looks like we got to fight for this.
Teleport coming through. Lightstriker's taken out super quick. Herald not picked up? Oh, it was picked up. All right. Gorilla Jones going to dash away. Not going to get hit by anything except the boomerang. The Flash Gnar going to keep him safe. Gorilla Jones just being able to walk away. Nice try from Ziba, though. Was just a pixel off of getting the big wall stun there. But overall, 2 for 0, excuse me, in favor of the Herald going over to the Blue Barons. I think they call worth.
Yeah, Chunboy ended up picking up the Herald, but you did get some gold into the pockets of a couple of laners in various positions there. Ezreal got one, Gnar got one. So it's not too bad. Unfortunately, it would be a lot nicer if you're able to stop them from getting the Herald, but either way, 5-1, 2k gold lead up. Bishop Montgomery look like they're back with a vengeance this time around here, off to a really good start.
Yeah, and they changed up the game plan in almost its entirety. They kept the Ezreal, and that's about it. They changed up every other position. Largely for upgrades too. Gnar much more solid than the Wukong. The Rek'Sai a little bit more team focused than the Lee Sin. I'm still torn on the mid lane pick by Champ. The Karma is again not something we see often. Already not really doing that much damage to the Orianna, and potentially just because she is going the supportive item build. We already see a Goblet there, being able to be defensive. All right, Knockout's going to command onto Light. 2-man Shockwave, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The ultimate from ZXT will get the takedown.
Oh, ZXT taking a couple turret shots, though. Oh, no, this isn't looking good.
Oh no! ZXT gets caught over the wall. Only the 2 stun though. Not enough damage from the Ace in the hole means that Champ is able to survive as well? Oh man.
Passable teleport though. Wow. That was beyond a close call. They're looking all over the jungle too to see if they can find them, but they don't realize that they just aren't going to. So this next dragon is up as well. It is going to be the Infernal. Fountain Valley have already done a good job at setting up a decent bit of vision around it, so they might want to go for a trade here in this bottom lane as soon as Meep can get back there, so they can get that bottom lane pressure and go for the Drake.
Meep, though, looking to make something happen in this mid lane. Too much wave clear, though, means that it is quickly pushed under the tower. Pings are already onto that Infernal Drake, so we are going to be getting a different soul this game than we had last time.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like nobody wants to let this dragon go. Oh my gosh. Bottom side looks like Josh is gonna live.
Praise
nope, never mind.
Coming through. Blows the heal, gets the Battle Dance shield. Josh picking up the takedown onto ZXC there. And now the chase is on Rokid, though, getting some zoomies. Able to get out safely. And the ping there onto the dragon means this will be the second of the game going over to the Blue Barons. They do pop the Herald as well. Bit of a late call there, but it is just for pressure.
Yeah, that's right. No way this bottom lane is going to be able to contest now. And that was a really good play there from Josh. Had to blow both summoners, but ends up staying alive as a result. And ZX, unfortunately, is a little too aggressive with these turret dives. That's twice now. He ended up just dying to the turret. So he might want to consider being a little bit more careful, just because you don't want to start giving that Caitlyn too many kills. She's already very close to building up that Storm Razor, which is already going to make her so very dangerous. We finally see a pickaxe here from Rokid. So he's going to start hurting a little bit more too. Oh, excuse me. He's already built up the Manamune.
Yeah, lots of money being spent now. First items completed for just about the whole game, minus the supports, but that's to be expected. We do see some more vertical jungling coming out from ZXC, but it's seemingly less vertical jungling and more counter jungling now, being able to steal away multiple buffs from Chunboy, who seems to be a step behind.
Seems like it. Gorilla Jones doesn't even know that he's there. He's going to be standing on the... Oh, they must be going for a play. He just notices he was right there.
But Blastcone going to keep ZXC safe. No worries there.
Yeah, I mean, relatively... Although there's a bit of a Jaws theme going off in my head, not a whole lot ends up coming to that. I think Zevile and Champ a little slow to rotate there. That could have been quite an easy kill there onto Gorilla Jones, although from now on I guarantee he's checking every single bush he walks by just after a scare like that one. And also it's worth noting too, on this Renekton, he's built up the Black Cleaver, so he is that much tankier now. Zevile's also built up the same. Both junglers have finished up their warriors, both have gone for the tabbies. Just for that nice little bit of armor it gives you, and auto attack damage absorption. So, and again, if you look at the bot lane here, we have the Storm Razor built as well for that Caitlyn, so she is going to be that much stronger, even Eagles with the boots of mobility.
Gorilla Jones going to pop the dominance, tries to chase down Zebile, flashes defensively, gets one dash, but there is too much damage coming at him. Is going to go down for the third time this game. We see the True Shot Barrage come through just as a bit of a helper as well.
Yep. And we're actually going to see Lightstrikers move up to the top lane to push that wave, and we even have Chunboy going for the turret as well. They aren't going to contest this Rift Herald. They're just going to go for trades on different parts of the map, it looks like. Although Lightseeker might get the... Nope, never mind.
That's going to go down, and now a little worse for wear. Shockwave's not going to connect. Oh, no! Flashes back into the bush, but they have enough knowledge to think about it. And that is the takedown spree coming through for Zebile on the Gnar. And it seems that the role swaps that BMHS have come through are really, really impactful.
I couldn't agree more there, Doc. And it just seems like everybody is playing that much better. ZX really enjoying his roles in aggressive jungler. Oh, no, speaking of aggressive.
That Ezreal Yuumi combination coming in clutch, using that spellbook lockdown to make sure Josh isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but again, you know what? You gotta be careful. Even if you are Caitlyn, even if you are strong, it is tough to be able to trade when you're rooted like that. Oh, here we go.
Jones doesn't have flash. Does getting red buff slow, trying to do slice and dice, only gets the slice though. The ultimate coming out as well. Dominus gets popped along with the unstoppable Ragnarok. ZXC slain super quick, and now Zebile has to get away somehow, but does he have the tankiness? He has the flash, able to jump out and survive. But what was a promising 2-for-1 turned into a 2-for-2.
And that's tough. Gorilla Jones really greedy with these. Is he gonna get the? Oh no! What's
Shockwave comes through? Zebile gonna go down. Huge shutdown. Goes over to Lightstrikers. Josh gonna get beat up quite a bit here by Champ in the bottom lane as well.
And I like this. This time around, it's Bishop Montgomery who are punishing overcommitments in other lanes here. So they end up getting the mid-tier 1 turret for that, what was basically a 3v1 in the top side. And I say that's worth, especially because Z-Bile ends up getting a kill out of it anyway. So this sets them up really well for this next dragon as well. It's coming up any second now. It is going to be the Cloud Soul, it looks like. And it's just a good chance for Bishop Montgomery to get a dragon under their belt, but it's going to be tough because ZX summoned another Rift Herald.
Again, to the bottom lane it goes. Their dragon's at about half HP. Are they going to go for it? The call is seemingly mixed. Dragon's going to go down. It looks like the retreat has come out.
Yeah, that's right, and that's it. They got their first dragon on the board, and they denied Soul Point from Fountain Valley. I talked about it in the last game, how much pressure having 3 dragons is now, because you don't want to give away that dragon soul. So it's good. Bishop Montgomery are capitalizing, they're trading. They have that tier 1 in the bot side down as well. So they're ahead 2-1 structures, and they're starting to make that push onto Fountain Valley side of the map here. If you want to look across too, they're actually leading in gold now by 3k CS across the board, more or less, especially the mid lane and the bot lane that Ezreal has built the Iceborne Gauntlet, so he is going to be a little tougher to trade with now. Caitlyn forced to buy the Executioner's Calling for that Yuumi heal, but could just very well build that into Mortal Reminder. However, the Agility Cloak does tell me that Josh is still looking to build that IE.
Yeah, trying to build up some damage and some attack speed. The Executioner's Calling is the Yuumi tax, though. 800 gold, well spent, I dare say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that dragon play coming up so big for BMHS. Not only do they get their first dragon of the game, Z-Bile finds an angry crocodile, but is able to get away.
Yeah, it looks like not a whole lot's going to come off of that. We got a lot of members of Fountain Valley on this topside river, and they're also going to make their way mid as well. It's going to be tough for them to actually trade anything here, so Z-Bile actually is going to go for the teleport. I don't think they know where he's coming from.
Teleporting to the backside as ZXD goes in. The spellbook comes out, and the snare is not going to connect on anybody just yet, but the big 2-man Gnar onto the enemy AD carry means Roadkid is on a streak. And so now the Unstoppable gets proc. Going to take down one. Lightsager trades it back, and they get more. Gnar goes in, only going to connect on to Meep. He goes down. So does Lightsagers, and everything is coming up. BMHS. The Knights are coming in clutch, double for the Ezreal. But man, there is so much work being done by Chunboy's Olaf. In the end, it is a 3-for-5 in favor of the Knights. But what looked so promising fell apart just at the end.
And that is super unfortunate there. I can't even believe Z-Bile lived, if I'm being honest. There was a point where his HP got so low, I just wrote him off as dead. But he ends up coming in clutch, being a nice, I guess car for the Yuumi, basically to heal him up, allow him to push the wave as well. So this is definitely a win here for Bishop Montgomery. We got so much money in the pockets of, well, Roadkid especially, who I believe got 2 kills in that fight. So he has almost built up that death stance. So he's about to become that much more dangerous here on the Ezreal. And it is tough. We're seeing a lot of pretty good itemization from Bishop Montgomery in general. We have the ice, we have the frozen mallet there from Z-Bile. And we even have, yeah, it looks like we have the blasting one there from Champ. So that's going to be a nice little bit of AP, do a little bit of extra damage in these team fights. So it looks like they're clearing vision, and they want to set up for this Baron fight. Dragon's not coming up for a little bit here, so they have time to focus on just that. Oh, they got him.
Gorilla Jones, not super tanky, only has that black cleaver. The red buff with the Iceborne Gauntlet are enough to start the fight, and then the snare from the Karma are enough to finish the fight. Shockwave defensively from Lightsager, just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, at this point, you don't want to give away any more gold than you already have. But now that Lightsakers has built up that Morellonomicon, he's going to start hurting a bit more too, and that Grievous Wounds it's going to apply is helpful in that battle against the Yuumi Ezreal. or just the Yumi in general, let's be honest here. So hopefully the sustain will be able to be outdone in these team fights. That's what Fountain Valley are playing for here. We see the Jarum's Fist built on both the top and jungler for Fountain Valley. Very likely building towards that. No, I believe it's going to be Titanic Hydra for Gorilla Jones.
Okay.
But maybe not.
ZXC
Oh, no.
playing a bit aggressively, forced to ult defensively, is surviving through everything, though. Josh finally able to pick up the takedown as Gorilla Jones is now rushing into the backline there. Super low already. Half HP gone, taken down to a pixel as the full-on retreat is coming through. Chunboy does have the Ragnarok available. Will he need to use it? He decides to, but he is so low health-wise, he's going to end up going down. And now the Gnar onto the backside. That is Zebile going huge. Another double coming out from Rokid and Ezreal. Looking to close out with a triple. Just needs to connect a couple more abilities. And
there it is.
Spree on top.
Yeah, that is tough. He's now 8-1, has a huge bounty to his name too. You gotta imagine he's built the Death Stance here, but they want to go for that second Drake first before they actually go and take care of that. They gotta be careful. Josh is actually on the other side there. Actually isn't able to get vision on time.
No.
Oh, he might.
Very close. Forced to flash, though, means that Josh will not have that for the next big team fight. And they decide to give the blue buff over to the Ezreal. Very nice.
Yeah, again, the mana regen is so nice. The cooldown reduction for someone like Ezreal is great as well. So it's really a no-brainer there. He has built Death Stance, so he's just... God, Doc, he hurts so much. This Ezreal hurts so much, and you see the Caitlyn just struggling to build IE here. And actually, I take it back. She just built it.
Yeah, I mean, the Ezreal spiking at 2 items generally is very impactful if you're able to get your 2 items first. If you're behind the enemy AD carry at 2 items as Ezreal, you don't feel like you do a whole lot. But when you're ahead, this is exactly what you can expect to see. Is just being able to pump out those Mystic shots, keep everybody locked down. ZXC going to find himself the Rakan. Battle Dance keeps him alive.
Yeah, it could have been really dangerous there if it was anyone else who got comp, but we're getting to a rough point in the game here, Doc, because it's so hard. I don't think Fountain Valley can win the 5v5 at the moment here. They gotta get a pick onto somebody, and it's gonna be really tough because at this point in the game, Bishop Montgomery are mostly all together here. We do have Champ in the top lane, so they gotta look to make a play mid when they know the Karma isn't there. It's really their only opportunity here, but at the same time, Lightseekers making plays on the other side of the map here, gets that bottom tier 1 finally, but I think Zebile is going to deal with that.
Yeah, it's really tough, like you said, to even engage upon the Ezreal, though. Having to fight through the Iceborne Gauntlet slow, through the Boomerang slow, through the Yuumi slow, it's just so tough to try and get on top of.
It's a lot of slows.
And then you can just argue and shift away.
Exactly, and then look, and he's so ahead, because you mentioned it. He's building, he's got the Bilgewater Cutlass, which almost certainly means he's going to build that Blade of the Ruined King. So not only does he have everything we just mentioned, he's going to have a lot of lifesteal and attack speed as well. So we're going to get to a point where I don't know if anybody can actually deal and survive the damage output we're seeing here from Rokid. And it's tough now because it's tough for Fountain Valley because Bishop Montgomery know this. They're clearing up for the Baron. They are going to go for the play and just try to take it out because at the end of the day, even if they 50-50, they surely come out on top.
Yeah, and all of that healing that you were just talking about, he also is a Conqueror, which is super strong. Definitely the best keystone in the game, and it's really tough to combat that.
Yeah, and it is tough just because of how much damage and how low his cooldowns are. Usually range champions, excuse me, have trouble using it, but works just fine here for Rokid. And they just keep on clearing the vision. They're pushing out these waves. We might actually see a play here in the under the tower.
Chunboy forced to pop the Ragnarok super early on. Is going to go down to the rampaging Rokid and Lightstrikers just cannot escape on that Orianna. Teleport from Champ means that it is a double for Rokid once again. Pings immediately onto the Baron, and things are looking very good for the Knights.
Yeah, hard to imagine with all this damage they have. They're going to blow this Baron up, no problem here. Gorilla Jones, unfortunately, won't even be allowed to get that mid-tier 1 because, well, we have Champ there just keeping an eye on them. So Fountain Valley look like they're resigning to the bottom lane. That next Cloud Drake is going to come up in less than a minute now, so they want to set up some vision there and hopefully reset and get ready for the siege that's about to come upon them.
And it's not going to be a fun siege. There is so much poke available between the Yuumi, the Ezreal, the Karma, the Gnar. I mean, heck, even ZXC's Rek'Sai has poke available to them. Like, it is absolutely absurd how much tap dancing shoes you need to be wearing to dodge any, if not all of it.
Yeah, it is a really tough position to be in here. We even see how, man, Z-Biles is going to get to a point where it's going to be tough to take him out. He has the Dead Man's Play completed as well, so that's a nice little bit of armor. On top of that, Spectre's Cowl. So the magic resist probably going for... not Abyssal Mask. I always mix up the name of this item. Basically a big magic resist play here. Z-Bile, wow, he knows they're there. Literally isn't afraid of them, though. Oh my god.
All of that damage happening just out of range, but ZXC going a bit deep there. Does have the Guardian Angel to keep himself safe, but eventually he will go down, and so will Lightstrikers. Shockwave going to connect just onto Rokid, who continues his assault forward, able to pick it up with the Mystic Shot on to Chunboy. Godlike is the call, and they don't even care about this third dragon. They're just going to push into the base with the Baron and are potentially going to, and there's only, 30 seconds still for Chunboy to come back alive, and the damage output from Rokid is unmatched.
Yeah, that's already going to be one Nexus turret down. We have Josh back here in the game. I think now this is the call to retreat if you're Bishop Montgomery. You did really well with this Baron play. You know that third Drake is alive, so it's just time to go for the third dragon here. So I don't know if we're actually going to make it to a fourth at this rate. However, this is going to take Bishop Montgomery to Soul Point.
And they now have an additional 30% cooldown reduction for their ultimates. And when you look across the board, it's pretty impactful. True Shot Barrage, the novel from the Yuumi, Gnar coming out of Gnar, like all of these are big game-changing, teamfight-changing abilities, and we're starting to get to a point where you could actually have multiple per teamfight because of how much cooldown reduction they're getting.
Yeah, I really want to know what Rokid's cooldown is for True Shot Barrage at the moment. I'm very curious because it must be something insanely low at this moment here. And if we just look, this is a really tough position. 9k gold lead for the side of Bishop Montgomery, and you just see they're getting stronger and stronger. They're building up these just more items here. Z-Bile has finished the Spirit Visage, so it's just gonna. I can't even see how you're gonna be able to kill this guy unless you take him 5v1. And this is a really difficult position here. Again, Blade of the Rune King built up for Rokid, has the BF sword. Can't even imagine what he's going for now. Maybe
Bloodthirster?
Yeah, that's actually not a bad shout. Just
he would be
more lifesteal.
Completely
He'd be unkillable.
Yeah, there would be no chance of him being able to go down. Gorilla Jones, definitely in danger of going down. Flashes into the Rek'Sai. Legendary Rokid Ezreal. Just 13, 1, and 5. 4 completed items, 5 if you include boots, and is just hard carrying this game right now.
Yeah, I think we're reaching the point of no return. It's going to take a miraculous team fight here from Fountain Valley, but it's going to be tough. Everyone's here except for Gorilla Jones. They got to try and play for something, at least get some poke off here, but they know That Rek'Sai is looking around with the Tremor Sense. He knows where they are, and they're going to jump right on Lightstrikers.
Two-man Gnar into the bonk, and that is everybody except for Meepers down. Meepers is not long for the world either. Goes down. Ace going over to BMHS Knights, and that should just about do it. They have super minions already in that bottom side. One Nexus Tower done and dusted. The second one quickly behind it. And they are going to go ahead and tie up the series one apiece. Eventually.
And what an amazing resurgence from the side of Bishop Montgomery here. They're all flashing their emotes because they're happy about coming back. And honestly, they should be. It's really good of them to be able to get that mental reset after losing that first game. You feel like it's hard to come back. But after a little bit of a role swap, after a, okay, guys, let's draft a little differently this time. Wow, they left the Yuumi open this time. Let's remind them why they shouldn't. And then we saw exactly the results of that. Bishop Montgomery very, very convincingly win this game, and they tie it up. We're going to go to a game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I said game 1 was pretty dominant in favor of Valley, and you know the Blue Barons, they were able to, the Knights them were able to come back super strong, super clutch, and it, you know, they did change up some roles. They moved some people around, and that can be not just a mental thing. Like if you have your opponent coming in with a set game plan against certain players, if you swap those players up, the gameplay now changes super well. And it's really difficult to keep track of a lot of players going back and forth. So really, really smart decision making there from BMHS Knights. They are able to tie up the series one apiece, and now it's do or don't do. You know, they do need to come back again just as strong in game 3. We are going to have to see a resurgence from the Blue Barons to see if they can also come back for a game 3 after a loss, because it's all on the table now. Whoever wins this next game is going to move on.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. We're going to have to see where things go in game 3 of our best of 3 here at the California Cup. But before that, we're going to throw it to a short break, and we'll be right back with that final game.
I was always told growing up, it's gonna rot your brains, it's a waste of time, and then like now I see where esports is at, and my family and I at home, we watch the League of Legends Championship. One of the students here at BC, he came to me and said, hey, we're really interested in starting an esports team. Like BC needs an esports team, and can you help us? I was a little bit apprehensive because I did not play video games and I wasn't sure what it would all entail. But then that same student came to my door almost every day the first week of school and said, have you talked to the principal? What's going on with the esports team? It's really because of the students. They were the ones that I felt like, because they're so interested, I think I can do this. My team, they never played League of Legends before, and them going from starting out just at the basic beginnings to now they're in the 30s and seeing how their team work, they're strategizing, and they've basically taken ownership of our team and run with it. It's been fantastic. At our school, leadership is really encouraged and admired among the students. With esports, my students get an opportunity in a different way than what maybe traditionally would be thought of as this is a leadership role you would have. So we have a team captain, we also have a team coach, and they really work really well with the students to kind of bring them together, and they are the ones that outside of school, they're practicing. We get 3 hours of practice a day. They come in at 7 a.m. in the morning, and they're waiting for me. They're like, hey, we're ready to go. Can we come in? Can we practice? Originally, we were practicing 3 days a week, and they were like concerned they weren't getting enough practice. They were like, can we do more? Can we squeeze in another day? So they wanted to do 5 days a week, but I was like, let's start with 3, let's build up to 4, and if we make it to playoffs, then we'll go to 5. They are just so motivated to kind of like take ownership of it. They basically decide beforehand what their bands are, who's doing what position, because I really would not have that kind of knowledge. And even though I don't play as much as they do, you know, you have to admire somebody who's built up their skill set. They've had to put in a lot of time and energy in order to be so good. And then when I play, I go like, wow, this is a lot harder than it looks. It has been wonderful watching how good my students have gotten in such a short amount of time.
It's not just the ships, the armor, or aircraft. It's the will to fight and determination to win found inside every Marine. Battles won.
Welcome back, everybody. Here we are, Game 3 on the board, and it is this final game between these two teams to decide who is going to be moving on to the grand final match and who is going to be moving on to the third place match. And so both teams have come out of the gate swinging. Once again, I am the Doctor, being joined by Beatdown, and I think now is really the time to just spend it all. I know you still have one more match later today, but there's no longer a time for secret strats.
Yeah, 100%. Lest you just get knocked out here in the semis, you might as well just get the best strat you can out on the table here. And we're going to have to see what both teams have learned from that last game, especially Fountain Valley losing because they didn't ban the... not entirely, but, you know, having the Yuumi there does make a big difference. I do think having ZX on the Rek'Sai in the jungle role actually did wonders for them as a team as well. So I just want to see how Fountain Valley are going to actually deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, they also had the winning top side last game, too, picking that Gnar into the Renekton, being able to push your advantage there. Combo that with that Rek'Sai assistance because of how easy it is to gank and take over Renekton lane really makes a lot of sense there. And we are going to have to see if they decide to do it again. We're actually seeing the Ezreal banned away. So Rokid's going to have to go ahead and play something else.
That's going to be interesting. I'm curious if they're going to ban the Yuumi also, but either way, they are going to have to play another champion in the bottom lane. Mostly the same bans here from Bishop Montgomery, the Lux, the Darius, the Kled. Just get it out of here. Fountain Valley, interesting, banning another ADC. They're going to ban the Aphelios as well. Is a pretty strong champion right now if you know how to play him, so it's definitely something you want out. But Montgomery, you let Yuumi make it through first round, we're going to pick it, and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strong champion, you know. We always talk about Ezreal Yuumi like they're a duo. But it's kind of like the Rakan Xayah combo, right? Like, the support is the stronger of the two champions of the duo. And so if you have the option, you're 100% going to pick Yuumi. It enables so many different style plays. We're seeing the Rek'Sai come out once again for ZXC, being able to really enable, you know, the aggression that Rek'Sai can bring. Meanwhile, for Fountain Valley, we're seeing Rakan, so not Soraka, Sivir. Why am I saying Soraka? It's a totally different character, champion, play style.
Yeah, we were talking about different. OP. We were talking about OP support, so that's probably how that got into your mind.
That does make a lot of sense. And all right, some more same stuff coming out of Bishop Montgomery, picking up that Karma once again. Pretty successful in the middle lane, I gotta say.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see if Fountain Valley, since they haven't picked the mid lane, maybe they're going to look for more of a counter matchup. See, maybe the Galio wouldn't be as bad here. Bishop Montgomery, though, they got rid of, they got rid of Cassiopeia just because of how strong a showing we saw from Champ in that first game. They don't want to deal with that on any side of the fence here. So we're just waiting to see it. It's interesting Fountain Valley go for an Elise jungle. So another early game powerhouse just because of how the ability to turret dive, how strong she is when she ganks early and stuff like that. We're going to see, wow, they're just banning out so many ADCs.
Yeah. 4 marksmen banned away, 1 picked, means there's 5 less on the table. But hey, you're still going to find a Yordle. It is the Tristana marksman top lane set. And Bishop Montgomery is just going all in on these power picks.
Yeah, I agree. Tristana is especially quite a strong ADC. Recently got a buff to her attack speed for some reason. And now she is that much stronger. So that is going to be quite a bottom lane there, especially because when you have Yuumi, yeah, she gives you a bit of a speed boost, which is nice, but as a lot of ADCs are, she's paired best with ADCs that also have a bit of an out. You know what I mean? Ezreal has the arcane shift. Tristana can also basically launch herself away from her opponent or get on top of them if she so chooses to. But the point is, Yuumi pairs well because you don't have to worry about someone getting the drop on you, getting right on top of you, and of course you still have that heal.
Yeah, and you know, being able to use those movement abilities aggressively, not just defensively, is pretty big when the Yuumi comes to mind, because you can pop that spellbook and really lock down opponents without them having the chance to respond. And so, yeah, the Champ Select is going a little haywire here, folks, but okay, there we go. It gets sorted out in the end. And so Tristana Yumi is a very interesting lane because they are so... Yumi's so strong in her role, but we haven't seen a Tristana in a long time. The champion is another one of those kind of stat stick style champions where if they're able to get ahead and pick up their items, they're really able to run away with the game. Whereas if they do fall behind early and don't necessarily get the items they need, they can kind of fall behind super quickly and become a liability.
Fair enough. It looks like we had a bit of an early skirmish there. It's going to cause a couple members of Bishop Montgomery to just back off here. And we're actually going to see some wards placed in the jungle as well by, into Fountain Valley's jungle, excuse me. And one thing I want to talk about that we didn't mention during that draft is Lightstrikers is picking up the Syndra. Now, I love this in Champ just because Syndra is really good at poking you from a distance, just like Champ is on this Karma. However, it's easier for Lightstrikers to get some CC off because that Scatter the Weak works at quite a distance and doesn't really have to worry about Champ rooting her most of the time.
Yeah, it is a bit of an easy out there. Even if you don't connect with the orb for the stun, at the very least you're able to not get snared. And I do like Gorilla Jones going back to this Aatrox top. It was so effective game one. Unfortunately, I feel like he ends up getting outpicked. I feel like Set right now is just so strong.
So strong. So strong.
And it's so tough to deal with the champion in a kit sense. Like I don't think there's actually anything you can do to deny the champion just because of how well he scales and how well his abilities work within League of Legends.
Yeah, that's right, and a lot of good trading opportunities as well, but I like that Gorilla Jones isn't afraid to trade regardless of that. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard to force Z-Bile out of lane on this pick compared to the Wukong just because Set has the Doran Shield, means he's going to be recovering quite a bit of HP here, and we're already seeing the Syndra pick be really nice here for Lightstrikers, who lands that Scatter of the Weak early on here. And that's basically what you want to be doing here if you're Lightstrikers. You just want to keep Champ beyond arm's length. But we actually might see a skirmish here in the top side river as ZX again going for some of that vertical jungling.
Yeah, trying to get in there and aggress onto the Rek'Sai, making so that they can't be as aggressive as they were last game, being able to take over the whole map. They are going to go ahead and take the Scuttle with a little help from Light, but overall, things are going pretty well for the junglers this time around.
Yeah, not a bad start at all, but you have that bottom side Scuttle, which is arguably better early on because that Drake is going to be up in about a minute now. But overall, Lightstrikers, again, has some really good pressure in the mid lane, so it makes it easier to make plays on other parts of the map here. And again, ZX is already in Chunboy's jungle, looking like he's going to snag some of those walls. He's just consistently trying to take camps from him here.
Yeah, and I'm actually super curious about the Elise pick. It pretty much, if I'm remembering correctly, has essentially a 0% win rate here in PlayVS, at least from our streamed matches. It seems that the champion can never get the early lead that it is needed to get. And so it never really reaches a point of, that super strong AP jungle type champion. And so it's just kind of like they fall behind the wayside.
For sure, you definitely need to get ahead here, and it is tough with ZX stealing the camps. He is about 10 CS ahead, and unless he starts answering, it's probably going to stay that way, but we're going to see a play topside here. All he really needs to do is land the cocoon.
Does get a double face breaker in. Z-Bile is going to throw out the haymaker. Not enough. Conqueror being procced. Flash forward. Z-Bile is able to pick up the first takedown, and that is exactly what we were talking about with the Set. It is just so strong, and it's only level 5. Doesn't even have the ultimate yet.
He literally just has Doran Shield Doc, and this is where things just get tough here. And, oh wow, that's some nice poke there on the Lightstrikers.
Yeah, good
And
timing there from Champ, able to land the snare after the Scout of the Week had been used. All right, Grand Entrance going through. Gumi's putting the health bar right back to normal, though.
yep. Gotta imagine Josh is thinking about that. Executioners on the way back to lane after their first back here. It is going to be really tough, especially to Tristana, who has so much mobility and the chance to get away. Add that healing. It's going to be a tough laner to kill here. But, gonna do your best here. Wow, manages to bring him under tower with the showstopper.
Showstopper already being popped, and Z-Bile is just smacking Gorilla Jones into the ground. Not able to get away in any sense of the word. Z-Bile actually coming away almost full HP. And I don't know, man. Where do you go from here?
It's tough. Now the set has 2 kills. Already has the Vampiric Scepter. Very likely going to have that Blade of the Rune King very soon. And at that point, with that lifesteal, he's going to be tough. Yeah, he already has the Bilgewater Cutlass. Has gone for some boots as well. And Champ is going to get away here. You can see Light Psychers has double amplifying tomes, so that's a nice little bit of AP there for this Syndra. But just wait, it's when that first item comes online, that's when you really have to worry about it. Probably the Luden's Echo for that CDR, because of course you want that Scatter of the Week up as often as possible here.
Meanwhile, we have the fabled 4 Fairy Charm start, 4 false.
Good lord.
Just wants to be spamming those abilities off cooldown. Doesn't want to worry about the mana regen. And, you know, it seems to be the name of the game. Being able to just outpoke your opponents right now is becoming very crucial. They're starting to get a good amount of damage onto this spot lane tier 1. Plate going to be going down in now, actually. First plate of the game.
Yeah, that's right, and it's interesting too. That's the thing when you pick Rakan as a support, because it is not the kind you expect a lot of punish to be able to. Yeah, there is definitely there's the Grand Entrance with the knock-up and stuff like that, but when you think of the tankier hook champs like Blitz, like Nautilus, and etc., it becomes a lot harder, or it becomes harder to punish the opponent, because you really have to land your skill, basically your skill shot, and even if you don't, you are probably in a good spot because you have other tools to lock people down. So this Meep really has the pressure on him to be able to set up these plays. Already has the boots of mobility there, and it's interesting to see that Josh as well is going for the pickaxe and the Tear of the Goddess. Isn't trying to build that Executioners. Has just decided probably not going to kill Tristana in lane. Just make sure she doesn't kill you.
Yeah, trying to stay alive. Gonna go for that Manamune, which is a little different than the Essence Reaver we normally expect.
Yeah.
Throws down the On the Hunt. Is gonna get locked up by the Yuumi, though. One or more auto is all it takes. And Brokid picking up the first takedown of the game for him. Z-Bile putting down some good damage, even though he's getting hit by everything, and he's got some friends in ZXC. Showstopper directly into the wall. Gorilla Jones going down again to the top jungle duo, and this is looking like a quick repeat of game 2.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate here. Gorilla Jones did so well in the Aatrox game 1, but again, it's like you said, Doc, this set is such a power pick, and it's so hard to... It's really difficult for you to be able to lane against him, especially with all this attention. Oh my goodness.
You know, 1v3, already used the repel, not able to get away. ZXC definitely stealing that takedown, though. That is a TS, takedown steal. Or takedown secured, I guess, if you want to think about it. But
depends on your attitude, I guess.
Yeah, if it's a team-wide goal, sure. But if it's a 3v1 like that, that is just a mess of action.
Yeah, just a little bit there. But it's an interesting... It is a pretty good roam. However, it does offer Light Psychers 2 plates and a nice bit of gold there. Now the Syndra has the Lost Chapter. The CDR is already starting to be applied, so she can start getting a little more aggressive against this Karma here as she tries to walk back into lane. We're already seeing the trades go through.
Yeah, the Chalice there already completed for Champ, so he's going to be able to get some good shields out. Definitely expecting the same supportive style build that we saw last time. And I do expect the game plan to be largely the same for the Knights. You know, let your bot lane get ahead, let the top laner do his own thing, and then just start roaming around the map, making sure that you draw the defense thin.
That's right, and we're going to see bot side. Almost a 20 CS lead here for Rokid on this Tristana. And a kill up as well, so definitely in the lead right now. Josh does have to be careful with that BF sword and pickaxe. She is really going to hurt. And yeah, I got to agree with you. Not going man immune right away is very interesting. But either way, we're going to see ZX actually. We might actually see a tower dive here, and he's not even trying to be sneaky about it.
Just running up to the tower, popping the Herald. They want to unlock this first brick so that their bottom lane can transition around the map and really focus on breaking the towers for the money. The Dragon's going to be spawning in 20 seconds. It is going to be a Cloud Drake, so we are looking potentially at the third different Dragon of our series, but that is a big advancement onto the opponent. Rokid taking down Meepers.
And that's unfortunate. That's going to just be a free Drake there for Bishop Montgomery. I don't really think there's a whole lot we can see here from the Blue Barons, but yeah, they're just going to focus. This Chunboy is going to start farming, focusing on that. And Lightstrikers, who's actually a little ahead right now, also has built the Oblivion Orb. Didn't go straight for the Luden's Echo. Wanted the bit of magic penetration that comes with having that as well. Since nobody's built MR, that is a nice little bit of borderline true damage you're doing there on the Syndra.
Yeah, I'm curious if he's going to sit on the Oblivion Orb and just take advantage of that magic penetration, or if we will see the upgrade into the Morella Nomicon to try and deal with the Yumi Karma type composition.
That's true. We're already getting to that point in the game now where we're going to start seeing some fights, so it is something to consider here. You already have the cooldown reduction from the Lost Chapter, the extra bit of mana it gives you as well. So it's not a bad idea to consider just going straight for that Morello Nomicon, like you said there, Doc. So we're going to see what they decide. And that's going to be Zebile finishing the Blade of the Ruined King, and also getting a Ruby Crystal in the Longsword. So this set is going to hurt a lot more than he did a few seconds ago. And we even see Rokid's built up the Infinity Edge as well. So those crits are going to be pretty nasty. A 5k gold lead here for Bishop Montgomery. They're looking like they're even going to get some plates there in the mid lane. So that's a lot of extra gold there for Rokid, who is sitting pretty at 120 CS right now to Josh's 97.
Yeah, 30 CS advantage is basically a takedown. If you do the math out, it comes out pretty close. And I would like to point out that with as dominant as the top lane has seemed to be, they've only taken one plate. They've done like 3 tower dives trying to, put Gorilla on his back, and yet that tower is still standing pretty good. Gorilla Jones, however, standing less good.
I was going to say, I can't even believe Zebile is almost full health after that trade, after taking a tower shot. The lifesteal is unbelievable. Now Gorilla Jones is here. He just wants to get a little bit of poke off, but look at him healing it up just by punching minions. This dude is borderline unkillable, and it's so tough because Gorilla Jones can't really do too much about it.
And the flash face breaker into the showstopper. How are you supposed to get away? Meeper is going to get popped up once again. Snare not going to connect. Does get the full explosion from the explosive charge. However, flash forward from Rokid means it is a takedown spree. 3-0-0 on the Tristana with a now 30 CS advantage once again.
Yeah, and this is really tough. Hopefully once that Muramana is complete, Josh can reap the benefits that they were going for, although I do wonder how this would have gone if he went for a more traditional crit build. Either way, we're going to see this might potentially be the end of that mid tower, or it will be close. But Lightstrikers still pretty strong here, so you do got to respect that Syndra, especially if she lands that Scatter of the Week. But she is a little hard pressed without the minion wave to start walking up.
Yeah, with how much crowd control can come their way super quick between the Karma, the Yumi, and the Rek'Sai, you do need to play super safe. Their wave clear, though, is pretty good with the Elise Syndra combo. Sky to the Weak is going to connect, but it's not going to be enough to defend the tower. Teleport coming in. Grand entrance onto 2. And now Zebile sets his sights on the enemy AD carry, but they are going to be called to fall back. Dragon is in about a minute, so they don't want to overstep too hard.
And without a doubt, this is definitely successful here for Bishop Montgomery. There's no objectives on the map yet, so it's definitely the right call to just not even bother really fighting, just because you're not really getting anything for it. And
Showstopper
I think he gets
away.
out.
Zebile
Never mind, we lost him.
Back, but he's still a pretty big boy. Doesn't get time to pop the haymaker. Is going to go down, shut down over to Gorilla Jones's Aatrox. And they're quickly roaming up to the Rift Herald, but is that going to be the play? Do they have enough time before the enemy responds?
Oh, with it being a 5v4, you probably should let that one go, but it looks like they want to try and do something here. We have Lightstrikers hiding. Doesn't manage to land the scatter of the weak, though.
And does force flash away. Lightstrikers, though, going to get rooted up and taken down by falsely support. And meanwhile, everybody else super low. Brokid's jumping into the fray with the rocket jump. Is going to jump one more time over the wall. DXD's going to pick that up, but here comes Brokid. Defender of a mid laner isn't in time. But overall, a 1-4-3. Almost all of them going over to Brokid. And all they needed to lose was the Herald itself. But man, when your Tristana is this far ahead, I think you're going to be okay with that.
He definitely is built, already has that zeal as well. Nice little bit of movement speed for her too. This Tristana is definitely dangerous right now. You can see she has a huge bounty on her as well. This is tough. We have the Blasting Wand. Finally, something else purchased here by Lightstrikers. Could easily build to that Morellonomicon or that Luden's Echo. But like we talked about earlier, it's probably going to be that Morellonomicon. So that's going to be the third Drake in a row here for Bishop Montgomery. And there's nothing the Blue Barons can do about it here. Like, Doc, 3 dragons down, 8k gold down. If you look at the item difference, the damage difference, it's so hard to be able to come back here. You need a good 5v5 fight, and you need to finally get that first item on your Syndra here so that she can start doing some real damage.
Yeah, I mean, definitely lacking money across the board. You know, Gorilla Jones has had a really tough time on the top side, just being constantly tower dove. Also sitting on just components at the moment. Like you said, Syndra does need to complete an item before she really starts becoming scary. And it's starting to lose map control. They're starting to lose places where they can safely farm. And, you know, the objectives are down at the moment, and yet you can see almost none of them are farming. Only Josh is being able to farm right now.
Yeah, it's tough. You really need your ADC to start getting some money here, so it's definitely the right call. Has the BF sword. Might be going for that Essence Weaver now that he's got the Mana Immune, but we're just going to have to see that one play out here. Across the board, though, it's a little tough here. Chunboy even is lacking a little bit in funds. Finished the Runic Echoes, has Sork Shoes. Probably building for Morello's as well, since he bought the Amplifying Tome and the Ruby Crystal. Again, you got to get Grievous Wounds however you can, just because that Yumi on the other side here, but it is going to take a while. And interestingly enough, Lightstrikers goes for the Luden's Echo first. So you, maybe for the splash, for that extra bit of spell damage. But either way, won't be much longer until she gets that Morellonomicon as well, and that will be quite the power spike and potentially a difference maker here. We're going to have to see. Somebody is going to have to collect that shutdown on the Tristana if they really want to make a difference here on the side of the Blue Barons.
Yeah, Tristana actually decided to go for the Static Shiv there over the Rapid Fire Cannon. It's really going to be focused on taking out these minion waves and really shoving in aggressively into the wave clear of the Syndra. It doesn't really need to worry about it too much, because the call now seems to be to take down Aatrox.
Yeah, although he already is recalling, so It's going to be tough to imagine he's going to actually be able to do it. I don't think they realize he's recalled either, but either way, just some good wave clear there from Gorilla Jones to try and keep Bishop Montgomery at bay for the moment, but you got to imagine another team fight is going to happen soon. The Baron is up for grabs. There's no dragon for the next couple of minutes, and, well, Chunboy's been holding on to this Herald for a bit, but he drops it on the ground now. I think it was about to expire, because otherwise, with this minion wave crashing, I don't really know what was accomplished with it.
Flash Face Breaker coming out of the set. A Showstopper on top of it is going to get pushed back by the Scatter. The weak Herald's going to go down to an auto attack. And that is a lot being blown by Zebile for nothing in return.
Yeah, that's right. Using the Showstopper there on the Rakan really doesn't help you much. You could very easily just E to a teammate, and you can see him jump out of the range of that Haymaker right away. Still, it is a lot of pressure. Your support has to reset now. Buys you time to push some waves a little bit. And we're seeing some vision being cleared here pretty much on all parts of the map. They're trying to ward up this bottom jungle just because they want that Mountain Soul, it looks like. And it does make sense because Blue Barons really aren't in a position. They don't have the vision. They don't really have the damage to be able to burst this Baron down quickly when Bishop Montgomery are just looking to the side here. And they definitely aren't in a position of 50-50 either. So with this Dragon coming up, it seems like that's going to have to be their play as well.
Yeah, I mean, this Dragon Soul, being the Earth Dragon, means that every member of the BMHS squad does get a constantly refreshing shield to block out incoming damage for the rest of the game. It is now an addition to their health bar. They just get to tank that much more damage for free. So it is one of the better dragons to take, and Spell Shield is not going to help you at the moment. Forced to flash away the slow tags on top. Now Lightseeker's forced to fight his arch enemy Set. Meanwhile, Meeper is going to get taken down barely by Champ's Karma. The flash away keeps Gorilla Jones alive. Somehow Lightseeker survives in the top side. Has to burn the flash though, but this definitely means Earth Soul over to the BMHS Knights.
Yeah, that's right, and that shield is going to be so helpful for them here, especially just a really good showing here from Bishop Montgomery all around. You can see how in control of the game they've been this entire time. They have the Mountain Soul there, 9k ahead with gold, and you can just see across the board that they're so strong right now. 2 or 3 items built on pretty much everyone on the team, and it's tough. You can see they don't have too much vision on the Baron. However, they're probably going to try and make a play for it soon. Speaking of make a play, well, he really wants this.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that because of the bonus shield, they just don't need to worry about towers. What's a tower going to do when you just automatically have a bonus to 300 HP for free?
Yeah, really can't argue with that logic. You're just going to end up being able to take a tower shot or 2 for literally free as long as you can wait 5 seconds here. And it looks like they're waiting in the jungle. It looks like we have quite the fight on our hands potentially, but it seems instead Blue Barons are actually just going to walk out of their own jungle. Josh actually building the Infinity Edge on the Sivir. That explains why it took a while, as it is a very expensive item now. Should be at least somewhat in the game now in terms of strength. That crit is definitely going to be super helpful and impactful here. So we're going to see the clearing vision is starting with ZX getting this Rift Scuttle as he just goes to farm some of his camps. You can see that Bishop Montgomery just want to make this Baron play.
And as things continue on, the Baron is going to be on the table. We do have a new win condition available for the 2 teams. It is going to be that Elder Dragon. Being able to have that 20% HP execute available for the entire team really makes team fights a breeze when you're able to just only do 80% of the work. So ZCX is actually not going to make it over the wall. Really unfortunate there. Means he is going to get shut down. That could be enough. Guardian. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Guardian
proc.
proc.
HP he has.
Barely keeping him alive. but now the aggression is back on.
That it is. They're just gonna make, because they can't do the Baron without their jungler, they're just gonna make a play for this tower here. But still, 5v4, as soon as Meep gets there, they do have the opportunity to try and make a play, but they realize this, so Bishop Montgomery are just backing off, but it looks like Blue Barons are pressing forward here.
You do see the root land on a Chun Boy. Gorilla Jones pops, the ultimate goes in with the help of his support. They are doing so much availability. Rokid unstoppable thanks to the showstopper. Champ gonna take down Gorilla Jones as well. And now Rokid able just to run down everybody. And the flash face breaker coming in huge. Triple takedown for the Tristana on the back end. Ace in favor of the BMHS Knights. And that is the call for the Baron. They're gonna let Set just take mid lane as his own. But he's definitely in good company.
And that is just an unfortunate scenario here. It just seems like this is slowly become an unwinnable game here for the side of Blue Baron. Now we have an 11k gold lead here for Bishop Montgomery. They just picked up the Baron, and before that they've already taken away that mid tier 2, so they're definitely going to get at least an inhibitor out of this Baron play. And if you are Blue Barons, you got to do something now. You have 2 items on your Syndra. But not only that, you're starting to just have items all around here. You guys are decently strong. The big problem is they're not focusing the right targets here. Zebile was largely untouched in that fight until the end, where he ends up flash Eing. And as a result of that, he's free to CC, just completely displace members of your team. So Blue Barons, they gotta be careful of that Set. They have to blow him up as quickly as they can, especially once that Haymaker is down.
It does get tough though when you have this 3.5 item Tristana just wailing away on everybody in range, using that rapid fire cannon now to extend the range. And now Elder Drake is a true concern. It's up in a minute 20, and I don't see a world where BMX just don't take it. Whoa!
That was
there it is. Syndra coming online here. On the hunt gets procced, but oh man. Yeah, that 2-item Syndra like you were talking about. Unheard of.
Yep, and that's the thing too. I know you feel, and it's easy, especially with how successful Rokid has been throughout this game, to just not really be worried about like, it's Syndra, whatever, I have Yuumi with me. But what he forgets is that the Morellonomicon makes it harder to heal him. And not only that, that burst damage means it doesn't really matter. It just blows him right up.
You know what the response is? He sold his BF sword and picked up a Hex Drinker.
Wow.
For a little bit of magic resist and that little shield there on top of it.
Yeah, I guess Mob Malmortius isn't a bad pickup here for this Tristana. It's definitely gonna... The AD is nice. The shield is nice too here. And we're going to see, unfortunately, not getting as much as you wanted out of that Baron because of that clutch kill there from Lightstrikers. Not only that, we're having a bit of a reset here. We might actually have an interesting play for this Baron, although the Set has... Oh
no, Dibble teleporting into the back. Facebreaker onto 3 into the Yuumi book. There is trying to stop the fight, but it is never ending. Zebile goes big. DXE picking up 1 and 2 to follow it up. Chunboy, 1 more auto for it. Oh no, he actually survives, but the bird is not enough. That is Champ now in the enemy base, trying to just take down everybody in reach. But the calls to go for that bottom tower are the correct one. They do still have the Baron-empowered minions for now, but Tristana is the OG tower taker. Flash onto the Syndra. You're not taking down Rokid this time, who is continuing the pressure. Gonna be able to take down Chunboy as well for the double. Can he get the triple onto the enemy AD carry? He can! And that is Inhibitor going down. Nexus Tower is soon to fall with only 1 member left alive. That is gonna be the BMHS Knights closing out the series 2-1. And they're gonna be moving on into the grand final series here.
And what a great showing here from Bishop Montgomery, who really struggled a little bit in that first series. But across the course of the rest of that best of three, they really came alive. First with the Ezreal Yumi, now Zebile with this set, just doing so much work. It's like you said earlier in the game, it's so hard what do you do about that flash E?
They didn't seem to have an answer for it, but Zeba being able to get multiple flash face break onto 3+ members, really clutch there in the later stages of the game. It becomes incredibly difficult to land, multiple hard crowd controls, and it really sets up the rest of the team to just get away with whatever they wanted. And we were able to see that Tristana take full advantage of the opportunities being given.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, so far it seems to be true that Elise still has a very low, or you said 0% win rate, I believe, in all of PlayVS, and it seems to still be the case here. Really tough for them to be able to get any real plays out of it here. However, ZX on this Rek'Sai, I don't know why they have him as a top laner. Keep this dude as a jungler, because they let him play Rek'Sai again, and he was still wreaking havoc on that, allowing for so many key tower dives, and it just made it that much easier to get your set ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, the Elise, it's so difficult to pilot, and it's kind of a power level issue. The champion just isn't as strong as it used to be in comparison to a lot of the other meta picks. So it can be a situation where the champion itself just doesn't do enough. It's not so much the player's fault. But so, yeah, I mean, Rek'Sai, super strong at every stage of the game, tons of damage and burst damage coming through, being able to really pilot around the map and make sure that multiple members are able to get ahead. And just, again, picking a winning topside match. They actually picked the set blind just because it was available. And then, the Blue Barons decided to pick the Aatrox into it, hoping that it would be a good matchup, and the champion's just too good. Like, how do you compete with that style of champion? It's really tough. And so we are working on an interview coming in short for you guys. But just a couple more things about that series. Just really important to be able to come back off of a hard game one loss, to be able to, clutch it out for the last two games of this series and come out victorious.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have, like you said, we're going to have some coaches on, so it'll be really great to pick their brain a little bit just to see the mentality for both teams going into these series and after each individual game, especially for Bishop Montgomery, to be able to go off of a rough first loss, to be able to win the next two, especially winning that third pretty handedly is, well, it's really something we could definitely get some more insight onto.
Yeah, and it seemed to be in large part to the player swaps, being able to move your players around in the game. I mentioned it after game 2. It really changes the game plan the opponents have to deal with because of the different styles of play. And you can see here some stats at the end game screen. 6, 2, and 5 on that Rek'Sai. Rokid going massive once again. He was the game 1 jungler on the Lee Sin. So for him to then swap to a marksman position and just put back-to-back dominating games, super impactful.
Yeah, that's right. And it's unfortunate too, because there was definitely an opportunity here for Fountain Valley to be able to come into this game, especially with the, that is so much damage, good lord. But
it's
the Syndra,
literally off the chart.
Yeah, it really is. And it's too bad. You have someone like the Syndra who is really starting to get into those 1 and 2 item power spikes, but unfortunately no one else across the map was finding any success. So it's really hard to play off your Syndra when every other lane it seems like they're struggling.
Yeah, it's one of those, stat stick style events that I was talking about. The Tristana, when they get ahead, they really get ahead. And is that type of champion that can be really difficult to deal with when they get ahead because of just the way the champion works. It's not like they're highly mechanical champions. It is more of a right click to win champion, which is what a lot of people say about Master Yi, except this is now a marksman role. They are guaranteed money and power and fame, and so they are able to put it to that best use, and it's just a matter of time. And so I would have liked to see a super early game pick come out in response to that, like a Lucian or something, but being as it was a last rotation pick, they didn't have the answer. They picked the Sivir super early on, planning that they were going to ban away, 4 marksmen and a jungler, I believe. So really thinking about it there. And we
looks like we have a player.
Yeah, player from the Blue Barons. We do have John Pham, the clicked on the wrong link. The jungler. It is Chunboy joining us live.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, so first thing I wonder, like, you guys end up winning that first series. So were you pretty confident you could take this one 2-0 going into it?
Yeah, we won the first game. We had control of the first game, and we knew what we were doing. We tracked the enemy jungler down. We were able to avoid ganks and just take control of the map. So we were going into the second game knowing that, hoping that we could go 2-0. But everything changed when the second game we couldn't track the Rek'Sai as well, and he just entered our jungle for free and got 3 ganks off.
Yeah.
So heading into game 3, what were the comms like? You guys saw that they were rocking the same roster as game 2. Did you have a different game plan heading into game 3?
Yeah, I felt we tried to do draft better. I think maybe we focused too much on ADC bans rather than we were talking about Yuumi and Rek'Sai ban as well, just because of the Rek'Sai's just ganking potential and the Yuumi's ability to help ADC farm a lot safer and just have a free lane basically. And we just knew that we would try to play for top side, and the gank top didn't go as well, and then we got and Seth got another kill on Aatrox, and it kind of went downhill from there. Yeah,
it's really tough. So my one question I'm wondering too in game 3, what's the idea behind the Elise? Is that
the Elise?
Yeah.
So we wanted to match the Rek'Sai. We knew that Rek'Sai would be would be on the map having gank pressure as well. So I wanted to be there to match counter gank if possible, because I knew that Elise would be stronger than Rek'Sai even in 2v2s as well. But then I cleared faster than Rek'Sai than I initially thought, and he had lower HP, so I never had the chance to counter gank. But I just lost. I didn't have as much pressure after that first game.
Yeah. All right, and so the day is not yet over for you guys. You do still have that 3rd place match ahead of you. Yeah. So now, do you guys have any secret strats left? Did you save anything after that series to bust out potentially?
Well, we have secret strats. I wouldn't share them here. But we're looking to take 3rd place for sure.
All right. Thanks once again, John, for joining us here on the desk. I do wish you good luck in your 3rd place match later today.
All right, thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, so that was Chunboy from the Blue Barons there joining us on the desk. We are going to have one more interview coming your way shortly, guys. And I want to talk about his answer there about the Elise Rek'Sai, where he thought that he was going to have the opportunity to be in position to counter gank super effectively, but the Rek'Sai was actually in worse shape than he thought it was, which kind of messed up his plans a little bit.
Yeah, it is tough. Like, again, we talked about it even in the draft. Elise is good in the early game. You want to make use of the gank pressure, very much like Chunboy was just telling us. But it's really tough because Set has quite the ability to 2v1, and when a gank goes bad like that, it is really hard to come back from it too. Once you're giving money to that Set, he gets too far ahead. And then we saw it. He had the Blade of the Rune King built really early, and then at that point, it's just a free go forward button, because it's really going to be difficult for you to actually die in a lot of scenarios. And again, like he said too, the Rek'Sai ended up getting a lot of farm for free from his jungle, and it was really difficult to end up counter jungling, and you lose a lot of pressure as a result. So it was a good plan. It just didn't end up being executed the way they wanted it to.
All right, and so we do have Corey, otherwise known as Champ, the mid laner for the BMHS Knights, joining us now. I believe. Yeah, there he is. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. We're here talking about some League of Legends, so we're always in a good mood here.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
right. So question. So you in the first game you played that Galio into the Cassiopeia. Was that your intent? Did you think you would end up having a better shot in that lane in game one, or what were you thinking?
We honestly came in thinking that we could do well in it, but the problem ended up arising when we lost a lot of pressure because the enemy laners were pushing in a lot, which made our Lee Sin it was hard for him to gank then. So we initially thought it would be easier, but it ended up being a little bit difficult for us.
All right. So after that, you transitioned into the Karma Bolts games 2 and 3, playing both Orianna and Syndra respectively. Now, Karma's not a normal mid pick. Did you think that those two lane matchups were going to go the way that they ended up going?
I think honestly, Shield meta mid with like Lulu and Karma, especially when we're funneling into our ADC, becomes pretty good. And as long as I kept pushing the lane and running with Rek'Sai, I honestly thought it wasn't going to be that bad.
Yeah, and then also, we just want to know too how you guys lose the first game was a little bit rough. So how did you guys kind of sit back and recover mentally and just be like, and then just end up winning the next 2 games in a row pretty convincingly? Like, was there a team pep talk? Did you guys were you just not at all bothered by the game one?
So initially in our spring season, Rokid actually plays ADC, and we decided to go back to that strategy instead of putting him in the jungle, and thought, let's just go to how we originally won, stick with the basics, and then through that, we had a little confidence. Yeah.
All right, and so now I want to talk about a little bit about your program there at the school. It looks like you guys actually have 3 coaches there at the esports program.
Yes.
So I mean, what's it like to have that many coaches helping you, as we hit the later stages of the event?
Although we're not at school right now, what's it called? Especially our head coach, Mr. Adams, he checks up on us a lot, and then he always tries to like pep us up and send us emails and that kind of thing. And I think despite not being there with him and him in like our proximity because of the quarantine, it's really nice because we have a lot of kind of like people behind us, and it always gives us like a good feeling as we head into games.
So what's your experience with that? Would you say that's also like a good way to summarize your experience with PlayVS in general, or what's your experience there?
Yeah, I've liked it so much. It's really professional, and then I like how the site works. It's really easy to get into games, and everything's kind of set up for us to play. And honestly, it's a great experience ever since I started.
You love to hear it. And so I know that you said that, obviously with everything going on in the world right now, it's tough being away from the school itself and away from the program. It's like, what were things like before all of this happened? Do you guys have your own practice area? Do you guys have like the computer lab set up for you guys or something like that?
Yes, originally, like normally every day after school, some of us will go into the computer lab and we'll practice for a couple of hours, or we'll try out different strategies and stuff like that. And then once we head home, we'll do scrimmages with other teams, and that's generally how we go about it.
So are the coaches
nice.
heavily involved in that too?
Yes, Mr. Adams is always basically available in the computer lab with us, and if we ever need anything, like we always go straight to him.
So is this something you're going to do next year too?
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Nice, that's good. You love to hear it.
All right, so thanks once again, Corey, for joining us here in the desk. You do still have one more game here today. It is for the championship, though. So are you ready? Is the team ready?
Yes, we're definitely prepared, and we're ready to win it.
We love to hear it. And so thank you for joining us once again on the desk, and congratulations on your semifinal victory.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we are coming to the end of our first semifinal match. And so I do just want to hear a couple words from our sponsors.
Yeah, that's right. So this event is partially sponsored by Omen NVIDIA. The PlayVS California Cup is presented by Omen and NVIDIA. Professional grade Omen gaming PCs with NVIDIA RTX graphics help players take their game to the next level. Visit hp.com/go/esports for more information and special education pricing.
And so, like I said, folks, that does do it here for us at the end of our first semifinal. We do still have more League of Legends ready and raring to go for you, though, but we are going to toss it to a short break as we set up the teams for our second semifinal. So stay tuned, folks. We do want to see you when we get back.
It's not just the ships, the armor, or the aircraft. It's something more. It's the will to fight and determination to win, found inside each and every Marine that answers a nation's call. Battles won.
I was always told growing up, it's gonna rot your brains, it's a waste of time, and then like now I see where esports is at, and my family and I at home, we watch the League of Legends Championship. One of the students here at BC, he came to me and said, hey, we're really interested in starting an esports team. Like BC needs an esports team, and can you help us? I was a little bit apprehensive because I did not play video games and I wasn't sure what it would all entail. But then that same student came to my door almost every day the first week of school and said, have you talked to the principal? What's going on with the esports team? It's really because of the students. They were the ones that I felt like, because they're so interested, I think I can do this. My team, they never played League of Legends before, and them going from starting out just at the basic beginnings to now they're in the 30s and seeing how their team work, they're strategizing, and they've basically taken ownership of our team and run with it. It's been fantastic. At our school, leadership is really encouraged and admired among the students. With esports, my students get an opportunity in a different way than what maybe traditionally would be thought of as this is a leadership role you would have. So we have a team captain, we also have a team coach, and they really work really well with the students to kind of bring them together, and they are the ones that outside of school, they're practicing. We get 3 hours of practice a day. They come in at 7 a.m. in the morning and they're waiting for me. They're like, hey, we're ready to go. Can we come in? Can we practice? Originally, we were practicing 3 days a week, and they were like concerned they weren't getting enough practice. They were like, can we do more? Can we squeeze in another day? So they wanted to do 5 days a week, but I was like, let's start with 3, let's build up to 4, and if we make it to playoffs, then we'll go to 5. They are just so motivated to kind of like take ownership of it. They basically decide beforehand what their bands are, who's doing what position, because I really would not have that kind of knowledge. And even though I don't play as much as they do, you know, you have to admire somebody who's built up their skill set. They've had to put in a lot of time and energy in order to be so good. And then when I play, I go like, wow, this is a lot harder than it looks. It has been wonderful watching how good my students have gotten in such a short amount of time.